And good morning, everyone, members of council, as well as everyone joining us in the gallery and virtually online. We are going to begin our Committee of Council meeting this morning, and it is a glorious morning. I think we're going to get to 26 degrees today, and the Leafs pulled through last night, so hopefully everyone is in a good mood. We will begin the meeting with the City Clerk calling the roll for attendance today.
Members of committee, I will call your name. Please indicate your presence in today's meeting. Councillor Vasante.
Present.
Is present. Councillor Willens.
Present.
Councillor Paleshi.
Present.
Is present. Councillor Bowman.
Present.
Is present. Councillor Medeiros.
Here.
Is present. Councillor Williams. Is present. Councillor Fortini.
Present.
Councillor Singh. Is present. Councillor Dillon.
I'm here.
Thank you. All 10 members are present. Chair Santos.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. Next item is approval of the agenda. Do any members wish to add a business item or make any changes to the agenda? Please let me know on the speakers list. I have Councillor Fortini followed by Councillor Willens. Councillor Fortini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two discussions. I'd like to add an in-camera discussion on the medical school. And the other one is, I noticed that the Brampton U is in camera. I think I'd like to see that out in the open since there was so much talk about it. And to go behind closed doors, I don't think so. It's the right thing to do.
Mr. Clerk, did you catch the first one?
Through you, Chair Santos, Councillor Fortini is proposing to add a closed session item regarding the medical school. And I don't know, Councillor Fortini, have you had conversations with the city solicitor on this, about the nature of and the reason for going into closed on that matter?
No, I haven't, but you could contact, I was trying to contact them. I couldn't get through. So maybe.
Through the chair to the councillor, would it be possible for you to send me a quick email about the subject matter? And then I can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fortini. And with respect to the item that you mentioned about Brampton U, I believe that there is a public session report on it as well as in camera. And I'll ask perhaps the solicitor or CAO to respond to Councillor Fortini.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Fortini. Yes, sir, there is two reports. There's one in the public session and there's one in the in-camera session. And the public session one the in-camera session has closed minutes from the previous closed minute meetings of council that we could not bring into public, but everything else that we put into the public session version.
Well, I thank you, but we've been talking about this Brampton U now for the last months and months all over the media, and now we're going to be bringing it behind closed doors. I think we have to be more accountable and transparent to what happened with it. So going in closed doors, I just can't see how we're going to bring this in there and hide it from what should be out in the open. It's been spoken in the open for months now on social media and all. So I don't see what the reason is going in, and then we get the report right now. Like at the region, usually we got to have 72 hours before we even add things to the agenda. So we're going in closed session. I don't even know what I'm going in for.
So through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Fortini. So what we've done is we put the report as an open session report. The only things that are not in the report are closed session matters that were referred to previously. If council wants to go into closed session and decide to bring those into public, that's council's decision. And we're happy with that either way, but we had to separate them as we did not have that permission as of yet.
So the ones we're going into closed sessions was because it was discussed in closed session in the past?
Correct. The only pieces that are going to close are previous closed session minutes and discussions that we didn't.
But were they? Well, my question is to see through the chair. Were those because it was already discussed and closed, or were not discussed and closed in the past? Because if they were not discussed in the closed, I don't see why we're going in closed today.
No, the only things that count through you, Madam Chair, Councillor, the only things that are on that report and close are previously discussed items. So nothing new, just all previously discussed in closed.
Okay, so, we're getting that enclosed now because we have nothing on the agenda or anything. We don't know what we're going in there for.
No, through you, Madam
It was
Chair.
just distributed.
We do have a public report. It's just that some of the information was taken from closed, and we referred it to closed matters. We just can't bring it out until council says we can bring it out.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Fortini. Further additions to the agenda, I have Councillor Willens. Go ahead.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to add a discussion item on the planting on the in front encroachment of residence homes and boulevards. I think, Peter, it likely goes on, it may go under legislative services because it has to do, I think, with bylaw.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, Councillor Willens. We're having a hard time hearing you. Could you perhaps speak up a little
sorry.
bit?
Yeah, I would like to add a discussion item on the landscaping on front yards and boulevards. I believe, Peter, it probably would go under legislative services because it refers to a bylaw.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe the clerk has captured that and it's now on the screen. Next speaker on the list for additions is Councillor Dillon. Go ahead. Councillor Dillon?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry about that. I've had a discussion with staff, and I want to add a discussion item: real estate sign bylaws.
Real estate sign bylaws. Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, you've captured that as well. Thank you. Any further additions or changes? I will ask the clerk to summarize anything further.
Through you, Chair Santos. So the proposed 3 items for addition to the agenda are one from Councillor Willens regarding landscaping on boulevards, and this would be proposed item under Legislative Services 9.3.1. The second item from Councillor Dillon would be proposed under Corporate Services regarding the real estate signs and related city bylaws. That would be 11.3.2. There is a proposed item from Councillor Fortini, which would be tentatively identified as 15.4 regarding the Toronto Metropolitan University Medical School, subject to confirmation with the city solicitor and consultation between the councillor and city solicitor. And I just wish to point out a few other updates to the agenda. Item 11.3.1 was a discussion item at the request of Councillor Williams regarding Algoma University. So I believe Councillor Williams is withdrawing that item, so that'll be withdrawn from the agenda. We also have delegation 6.4 on today's agenda, and this is in regards to exploitation of Punjabi international students in Ontario. The delegates have requested this delegation be withdrawn, and they will be submitting a delegation request to a future meeting. And finally, there was added delegation 6.5 that was included on the revised agenda published last evening. Delegations from Azad Goyet, Brampton First Foundation, and Mahindra Nagar, a Brampton resident, regarding Brampton University report timelines and activities. And I've just received confirmation that, in fact, I think the substance of their delegation is more to do with the University of Guelph Humber. So delegation 6.5 will be included with delegations under 6.1, and there'll be part 5, I believe it is, under that delegation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk, for that summary. Just to double check, make sure there are no further additions. I see no one else on the board. Anyone opposed to the changes to the agenda today? I see none.
Sorry, Madam Chair, it's Councillor Dillon. Just a quick question of clarification.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Dillon.
Just to the clerk, I sent a motion in in regards to University of Guelph Humber. I'm just wondering if that can be put forward in open session.
Through you, Chair Santos, it possibly could. And as I responded back to you, Councillor Dillon, there is both an open session delegations, 6.1 on today's agenda. There's open session correspondence. These matters were deferred from the April 27th Committee of Council meeting. And there also is a deferred closed session item, which is 15.1 on today's agenda. So I don't know if you wish to wait to introduce that motion publicly until after consideration in closed session. But that may be something that has to be considered at a certain point in the meeting. So I'm not sure if the intent, normally the intent would be for council or committee to receive all its information first, both in open and closed, and then if there's any resulting public motions, they would come out at that point in time.
Would that be at the, after closed session?
Yes, and that could be a motion that's introduced because committee can introduce public motions arising from closed session business after closed session.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
Okay, anything
Thank you.
further, Councillor Dillon?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any members of committee opposed to the amendments of the on the agenda today? Sorry? Oh, I apologize. Moved by Councillor Medeiros. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. That motion carries. The next item on the agenda is declarations of conflict of interest. Do any members have any conflict of interest for any matter to be considered in today's agenda? I see none. The next item is consent, and I'm going to read off all the various items that may be considered for consent. And please indicate verbally if you wish to hold those items for further debate. Item 11.2.1, staff report regarding 2022 final tax levy and bylaw. I see no holds, that's in consent. 11.2.2, staff report regarding investment report for the year ended December 31st, 2021. That is in consent. 11.2.3, staff report. 11.2.3? Held by Councillor Medeiros. Thank you, Councillor. 12.2.1, staff report regarding request to begin procurement, reconstruction, urbanization, and widening of Goreway Drive. That is in consent. 12.2.2, staff report, request to begin procurement, contract administration, and inspection services for the reconstruction and four-lane widening of Goreway Drive between Courtrell and Countryside. That is in consent. 12.2.3, staff report, request to begin procurement, contract administration, and inspection of services for the construction of CN rail grade separation, etc. That is in consent. 12.2.4, staff report, request to begin procurement, contract administration, and inspection for Courtrell from Goreway to Humber West. That is in consent. 12.2.5, staff report, traffic bylaw 9393 administrative update. That is in consent. 15.3, open meeting exception under section 239 2C(k) of the Municipal Act, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land. That is in consent. Fantastic, great work all. Now the clerk will summarize those items to be included on the consent motion for approval, and then we will have a recorded vote to move the consent agenda.
Chair Santos, members of committee, for simplicity, I'll just say that all the items identified by Councillor Chair Santos will be added to the consent motion, save and except for item 11.2.3, which is the staff report request to begin procurement, recruitment services for executive roles for a 3-year period, held by Councillor Medeiros, and the other items not cited by the chair are for debate during today's meeting. And a recorded vote is requested on the consent motion. All in favor of the consent motion, please indicate.
Motion moved by Councillor Palleschi. Go ahead.
Councillor Santos.
Yes.
Sorry, Chair Santos, my apologies.
That's okay.
Councillor Vasante.
In favor.
That's in favor. Councillor Willens.
Yes.
Councillor Palleschi. It's a yes. Councillor Bowman.
Yes.
It's a yes. Councillor Medeiros.
Yes.
It's a yes. Councillor Williams. That's a yes. Councillor Fortini.
Yes, yes.
Councillor Singh. That's a yes. Councillor Dillon.
Yes.
Carries unanimously, 10-0.
It's Mayor Brown, and I'll vote yes as well.
Thank you, Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Next item on the agenda is announcements. We have one announcement, 5.1, countdown to collision event Rose Theater on May 18th, which is next week, and we have Andrea Williams, coordinator from Economic Development, and our sponsors, Councillor Medeiros. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, members of council, senior leadership team, and staff. My name is Andrea Williams, Economic Development Coordinator, and I'm here today to provide you with some details for our upcoming event, Countdown to Collision. Next slide, please. Thank you. As some of you may already know, Collision is the fastest growing tech conference in North America, and Brampton was chosen as one of the 6 cities in Canada to host an in-person event to build hype and bring together ecosystems before the conference in Toronto in June. The 5 other cities that were chosen include Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, and Quebec City. We are thrilled to announce that next Wednesday, May 18th, Brampton's Economic Development Department, alongside the Collision organizers, are hosting Countdown to Collision at the Rose Theatre from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., and you're all invited. It will be our first in-person event in over 2 years and will feature delicious apps, unique entertainment, a fireside chat with Isaac Olawolfe of Dreammaker Foundation, and a keynote address by the newest dragon on CBC's Dragon's Den, Wes Hall. Following a formal presentation in the theater, stick around for networking opportunity with some of Brampton's startups, founders, and Innovation District partners. Next slide, please. In addition, some more exciting news to share is that Brampton's Innovation District Mobile Bus Unit is a pilot program that will be officially launching at Countdown to Collision. The premise of the bus is to raise international and local awareness of the Innovation District with strategic marketing opportunities, continue to differentiate the Innovation District from other ecosystems, and leverage transit connections to position us as a home for talent and tech. This mobile bus will raise awareness of the supports available in downtown Brampton and the Brampton Innovation District as it circulates the streets of our city. It will provide startups, founders, and entrepreneurs with on-site business advisory services, startup advice, and other services as required. It will also leverage the Innovation District and transit as a communication conduit with transit users and stakeholders. We expect this mobile unit to support local outreach as well as international FDI missions throughout North America, and will even be chartered for the MedCat tour with following the Collision Conference on June 24th as a nice way to wrap up Brampton's participation with Collision. I would like to offer a special thank you to Ivana Thomas, Director of Transit Services, and her team for working so quickly with us to ensure that the bus was wrapped and ready to go for our event next week. In closing, please be sure to join us next Wednesday, May 18th at the Rose Theatre for the Countdown to Collision, and we are confident it will be an event to remember. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Are there any members of council who wish to speak to the announcement today? Councilor Maderos.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the great news and quite the coup to be able to get those lists of speakers. You know, that's fantastic. In terms of outreach, I really love the bus. Like that's just a fantastic idea. It's something I've never seen, and something that you just mentioned in terms of those folks who are interested in startups and going around the streets. But for the event itself, how are we doing that outreach to get them, and is there a cost to this event for
Yeah, absolutely. So the event is free. There is limited seating, so we're trying to really drive registration. There is a link through Eventbrite, and we have been working very closely with all of the Innovation District partners, so we're hoping that they will pull in their startups and founders and mentors as well. But registration is looking great so far, and we still have a week to go.
Yeah, and thank you through you, Madam Chair, and that was my next question in terms of the buzz. Is there a buzz out there?
There is, yes,
It's
especially now that we can officially announce that Wes Hall will be there. We're really excited for the event, and I think it's going to be a really great evening.
Thank you so much. It's
Thank
great
you.
work. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councilor Maderos. Mayor Brown.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Santos. So I think having people the caliber of Wes Hall and Sunil Sharma, amongst others, speak at it gives us some great content. And I know part of the original goal was to showcase our city. And we look at the incredible success of Web Summit in Portugal as it attracts tech companies from around the world, and there's some ancillary benefit for Portugal. One of the benefits of Collision in Toronto is that you attract tech companies from the world, and it has ancillary benefit for Toronto. We spoke about the need to reap some of that benefit for Brampton by having this co-relationship with Collision. And so what is the plan to invite tech companies from outside of Brampton to come to this session? And what type of uptake do you imagine we're going to get? Do you think we're going to have a few hundred? Do you think we can fill the Rose Theatre? And is there anything additional we can do to make sure that we maximize the talent we have, given the people we have speaking and given the potential we have in Brampton? You know, we'd love to see the Rose Theatre filled. And so is there a plan for that?
Thank you for the question, Mayor Brown. Through you, Madam Chair. We did have a meeting yesterday with the Innovation District partners, along with some partners in Waterloo. And so we are pulling people from Toronto and Waterloo. I believe the event last night in Toronto was sold out, and so Collision organizers were also filtering them to the Brampton event as an opportunity to join. In addition, there is a lot of social media posts going out through the Collision conference organizers. There's e-blasts and newsletters, and so not only are the City of Brampton staff pushing along with the Innovation District partners, but the Collision organizers are also really promoting this event as well. So we're hoping that it will be a really great turnout.
And given the fact this is so far in advance of Collision, like I don't imagine many delegates would be traveling a month in advance. Is there a way to get some participation from those that will be attending the Collision? Do we have the delegate list that we can email the invites out to?
Through you, Madam Chair, we can absolutely reach out to the Collision organizers and see if that's a possibility.
Yeah, because if I recall, when Councilman Maduros Vicente and myself went to a Web Summit, we got access to a list for the reception that Brampton hosted. And so in terms of top tech leads, I would just say that given the fact that you've created great content, I think the key thing when you've got great content is make sure that eyeballs see it. And so I'd just love for us to be more aggressive in making sure that this isn't an event where you have 200 people in the Rose Theatre when we could have a full house. I want to brag about what Brampton's doing. I want to showcase what Brampton's doing when it comes to the creation of innovation jobs and why this is the best place in Canada right now to grow a business in the tech space. And so I would just ability to invite people to this. You know, before COVID, we talked about how cool this would be to have an event like this on the hills of Collision. My only worry is that because it's a month out, it may be difficult to get the turnout from those attending. So I think we'll have to be extra aggressive in making sure that we can fill this. I think it was the day before. Of course, you'd have a ton of delegates coming to it, because if it's a month before, I think we need to have a different strategy about how we're going to fill the house. And I'd say, do we have confirmations yet? Do we know how many people are coming? And if the capacity of Rose Theatre is 1,000, do you believe we have the capacity to fill it?
Through you, Madam Chair, I mean, that's the hope. When we checked registration yesterday, it was just under 100, so we're definitely getting there. With regards to promotion, we are working on tiles with Strategic Communications, and I'd be happy to share it with you, Mayor Brown, and all of the councillors to really help push and spread the word.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Brown. I see no further speakers on our lists. Motion to receive the announcement. Do we have to do a motion for announcements? No motion required. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Next item is public delegations. The first delegation or set of delegations is 6.1. Delegations regarding University of Guelph Humber's possible relocation to the city of Brampton. We have a number of delegations, and just a reminder before we start delegations, there is a clock over here to the left of my shoulder, which gives delegations a countdown of 5 minutes. Every delegation has 5 minutes for each delegation, and joining us today first is Daniel Atlan, VP External Affairs, University of Guelph, Kelly Jackson, VP External Affairs and Professional Learning, Humber College, Ronnie Dhaliwal, Executive Lead, University of Guelph Humber Brampton Partnership. Thank you again for joining us this morning, and you have 5 minutes for your delegation.
Thank you, and good morning, respected members of council and your worship, Mayor Brown. My name is Ronnie Dhaliwal, and I'm the executive lead for the University of Guelph Humber Brampton Opportunity. 2 weeks ago, you heard from us. We presented to you in detail the process, the opportunity, the benefits, and the sort of the next steps. Today, it's our intent just to cover and emphasize some key points. You've heard us enough on a number of occasions to emphasize, the future, the next steps, and what it means to bring a comprehensive university to the heart of Brampton. During the past decade, we've had many conversations with the city on this opportunity, and I would say more recently, city council members and city staff approached us on this opportunity to take a look at our interest in terms of being the anchor tenant in the CFI. We actually analysed that, assessed that, and after that, our presidents presented to you in 2021 of June after which you had unanimously agreed to ask staff to work with us on this opportunity. Since then, we've been having regular meetings, open, transparent conversations in terms of trying to understand, well, how could this work and what the options for us would be as an anchor tenant in the CFI. We provided staff with our requirements that we shared with you 2 weeks ago to relocate. That's including space and financial support. We've also indicated to staff that we'll be conducting many surveys to address the other issues, including working with private sector, the other issues being student residences, parking, and the long-term growth needs. We understand that staff has provided you with a report that you're going to be reviewing later today, and they've also done some analysis, some with their own cost modeling, and have presented options. We're not privy to that report. We don't have an understanding of what's actually in that report. However, we do look forward to hearing from city staff following your deliberations today and your decision today. And we are hoping and expecting that we will look to move to the first step of negotiations on this very viable option for the city of Brampton. Once we have a viable option that's approved by council and approved by our board of directors, we will look to form a formal plan engaging city council, stakeholders, the community to understand and design what the University of Guelph Humber Brampton will look like, how it will be, what programs will be offered. You know, this is the first time in the history of Ontario where a fully operational campus is being reallocated. And of course, the one issue that you've raised many times with us is about the rebranding exercise. We look to engage with all to understand what that rebranding exercise is going to be. These exploration options and negotiations will take time. And at this point, we anticipate taking our report to our boards in late fall. That's a change from what we were originally discussing earlier. This would be followed by submissions to the province in terms of the major capacity expansion. 2 weeks ago, we presented to you the presentation. We're not going to walk through that. However, I would like to highlight just some very key benefits, but at the same time, I would like you to imagine the power and impact of this opportunity with your support, on Brampton, on the families of Brampton, on future generations in Brampton, on businesses, and on decades to come, not just today, not just this decade, but decades to come. So some of the very unique differentiation points of University of Guelph Humber. It's a unique operation. Being in operation 20 years has not been replicated. Students graduate with a dual credential in 4 years. We will be looking to expand those credential mix by adding professional master's programs and micro-credentials to address the continuing education need of not just newcomers, but those who are in mid-career. New programs will be developed in consultation with the community, with stakeholders and business to enhance the talent pool that Brampton has and will grow. And most importantly, students in Brampton have a more affordable choice to study, to work, and to live in Brampton. From a demographic perspective, the size, the growth rate, and the young age of Brampton population substantiates the need for a local university. Now let's imagine, visualize the impact of this opportunity. 5,200 students by 2026, growing to 6,000 by 2032. Imagine the growth of local businesses, because we're going to be relying upon local businesses for all of those ancillary requirements. The expansion of the arts and hospitality, further adding to the diversity and the richness of Brampton. Brampton will be the innovation hub known for its startups and new business creation. A city that will be known for the boldness, creativity, innovation, and positive action. We've been working with the city on the CFI as you have been addressing the CFI in terms of its progress as we move forward. We look to partner with the Central Library to be in that space. We are the perfect partner to making this building viable. We will be that long-term tenant that will provide rental revenue for decades to come. Since last June, it's not a surprise, we've begun outreach to stakeholders, host public information sessions, get involved in the community, and engage directly with leaders such as yourself. Later today, you're going to hear from some of them, but I also would like to recognize some of the others. Brampton Board of Trade, Brampton Library, Brampton Beehive, and the YMCA. With that, we thank you again for your ongoing interest, support, and feedback. Our commitment to you and the citizens of Brampton is to continue to work with you, to continue to find a solution, and to relocate the University of Guelph Humber to Brampton to make this an affordable option for students of today and those of tomorrow. We know that many steps are yet still to be taken, including gaining provincial approval. However, we know that by moving step by step, in good faith, in full transparency, is the right path to follow. We're open to flexible and innovative models of solution. We want to make this vision, your vision, our vision, a reality for the citizens of Brampton. Thank you again for your time, and would be open to any other questions.
Thank you so much, Ronnie, Kelly, and Daniel. Do any members of committee have any questions for this particular delegation at this time? Councillor Medeiros?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the words, the time and effort in walking members of council through the initiative. In terms of the prospect of the population, 5,200 people, and you know yourself, and I know you guys are participating in Town and Gowns and so on. So regarding student housing, so people can understand. I know you're focusing on downtown Brampton, if I understand, through the CFI, and I know there's a lot of students that come from Brampton. But in terms of need, do you guys have an idea what type of accommodation need that you think that we would require? Because that would really have an impact on our planning in the neighboring communities. Like, homes, for example, we'd have to really start promoting duplexes, triplexes. When I go to communities like Kitchener and so on, where it's, university towns, the type of housing and from a planning perspective really change. So do you have an idea what might be, and if you don't have an answer, you can bring it back, because I know that's going to be a real focus from the Brampton residents, because, it's like we're dealing already with the situation, and in this neighboring area, especially the areas that Councillor Bowman and myself represent, Brampton proper, these are traditional, mature, very beautiful neighborhoods, heritage aspects. We're going to be introducing an element, regardless if it's Guelph Humber or another institution, but in this case, 5,200 people. I think that's going to be something we really have to focus as a community, and how we work together to ensure we have you had initial thought in terms of what the need might be and how to address some of that?
Sure, Councillor Medeiros, through you, Madam Chair. Today, it is a commuter campus, domestic commuter campus. We have approximately 250 students that stay in residence. However, moving forward, that's a great question. We'll be looking to not only introduce new programs, but we need to do those studies, and that's what I mentioned earlier. We need to do a number of surveys and studies in terms of what the pull, what the potential market will be. And given that we'll be working with the city, with the private sector, to understand what those options are. I would also like to add that the students that we probably will attract to residence buildings are mature students. That's what we're seeing today, and that's what we anticipate in the future. But certainly, we will be looking to work with city, with the private sector, with local landowners to understand what that possibility could be. And if you kind of reflect back on how University of Toronto or Queen's, how they've done this, this is a model that we can reflect on. And both of our institutions have significant experience in not only developing, but maintaining and providing a full service operation and the care for the student outside of the academic delivery.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair, something that you touched upon, which is a priority for the City of Brampton regarding transit, and getting that all the way to a GO station. So having an advocacy, a large partner like Guelph Humber, really advocating for continued investments in transit. We have an LRT which is going to stop at Shoppers World. Who knows what happens after? So bringing, advocating for transit is going to be a huge aspect for us, and I do know many students will participate. My last question, just as a sidebar, so we just talked about, for example, collision. We talked about innovation. We talked about cybersecurity. We're trying to build this ecosystem. Just some maybe high-level comments, because, and forgive me, when I think of Guelph Humber, and I'm sure there's a lot of, I don't think of innovation and technology. I think of other sort of programs and et cetera. And my full disclosure, my brother went to Humber, and so, very positive experience. But just how do you see, for example, the programming? Is it going to be aligning with what the ecosystem that we're building here in Brampton?
So thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Medeiros. Great question. And I'd say that, as we've talked, we're going to be developing new program in conjunction with the community, building on the best of actually what both institutions have as well. So the University of Guelph actually has a significant strength in cybersecurity and actually data management. So we actually have a professional master's in that, which we like to explore bringing here. We're actually a partner with the U of T and a couple other institutions, with the Vector Institute downtown Toronto. So very, very big in AI as well. And we know that there's a lot of needs in that area. We also see that there'll be some opportunities for us to work on other areas such as supply chain and also logistics. We think that there's some areas such as that we can explore for professional masters. But we're looking forward to having that conversation to be able to align ourselves with the needs of the community and the growing needs. And because I think it's quite clear that in 5 years' time, it's going to be a very different labor market that we can now actually work towards getting to that point and addressing what the community and industry needs.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when we, through you, Madam Chair, my last sort of comment, when we think about innovation technology, we'll think of, different sectors, but University of Guelph being a leader, especially when it comes to the agro sector, and a lot of the technology that's happening there, and what the possibilities with our food sector and food processing and the sector that we have here, manufacturing, and there's some real interesting sort of work being done there. So to have that sort of synergy created, so it's exciting. We'll see again, and I thank you very much for coming forward.
Thank you so much, Councillor Medeiros. Councillor Pelletier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. Very exciting information. I'm impressed with everything that the University of Guelph and Humber brings to the table. I had the opportunity. My niece was out at the University of Guelph last weekend for a cheer competition. So all those extracurricular activities that the University of Guelph provides. I got an opportunity to speak with her after, and she was completely amazed at the university. As of right now, she's 10 years old, so she wants to be a veterinarian. And so I talked to her a little bit about that, and I told her, and I could be wrong, but don't correct me if I am, I believe that the University of Guelph has the largest veterinary courses in Canada. I might have said the world, but we'll go with Canada here. So that brought me to a lot of, I hear a lot of young people going through grade school, and I think it was the same when I went to grade school, that, veterinary services was always an opportunity that people wanted to get into, and then they go into high school and that kind of drops off. So, I look at Brampton as a whole, and we had a great conversation with Public Works staff yesterday on future animal shelter here in Brampton and having another location. And Councillor Willens and I were both on the call talking about, maybe there's opportunity. And I made the comment about University of Guelph. Maybe there's an opportunity here where we can have some kind of co-location. We can keep the young minds of Brampton kids when they go into high school. Maybe there's an opportunity to have that, education piece, the volunteer piece. I know our animal services right now do a fantastic job on education, but I really am looking forward to some kind of collaboration, working with the University of Guelph Humber and ourselves in animal services to see if we can do something for all the young kids in Brampton. So I appreciate your delegation very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Councillor Pelletier. I now have Councillor Bowman.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming back again. Two real quick questions. Last time you were here, you mentioned that you have, I don't know what the exact words were, alternative future plans for where you are now, the site. Are you allowed to divulge that, or can you tell us what that is?
Sure, I can speak to that a little bit. So the University of Guelph Humber currently operates within a self-contained facility which is located on Humber's North Campus in Etobicoke. And so the idea that we are working in terms of our master campus planning for that particular campus would be to convert that to the new home for our Faculty of Health Sciences and Wellness, which has really grown over the last 15 years. We were the first college in Ontario in the last couple of years to receive government approval to offer our own standalone nursing degree. And we also do a lot of continuous professional learning around nursing and allied health education. So we also have at Humber a Centers of Innovation network, and there are 5 centers of innovation. And one of those is focused in health and wellness, and it also will be residing within that new, well, the current facility would be its new home there. So there are a number of different other plans related to both of those pieces in terms of what would happen with that footprint in that building.
Okay, so was there ever any thought of bringing the new campus here? All your new plans here to Brampton? In a brand new building?
So all of those new plans that I am speaking about would be Humber-only credentials.
Okay.
All of the new programming that we're talking about bringing to Brampton and working with industry and the community, Board of Trade and others to make sure that we're bringing that right piece to build the ecosystem and support it, it's flourishing, that Councillor Medeiros mentioned, those are University of Guelph Humber programs. So University of Guelph Humber programs are different because they are designed from the beginning to be completely integrated where you get both credentials in 4 years. It's not a model where you do like a Humber diploma for 2 years and then you add on and do a university degree. They're completely designed from the beginning to be integrated and to offer that work integrated learning as well, right? That industry placement, the connection to work. So each of those programs would be uniquely designed. And so there are a suite currently that are offered under University of Guelph Humber. Those are the ones that we're looking at relocating, along with the conversation around how do we support STEM outreach, how do we support all of the exciting things that are coming to Brampton, right? Whether it's Rogers campus, whether it's Stellantis, I mean, I don't need to tell you all the amazing economic investments that are coming in and the huge labor market needs here.
Yeah, no, I just see a lot of synergy between the medical facility and the innovation, with our innovation corridor and our new hospitals and things like that here. So
absolutely, and I think the really neat thing is, for example, the University of Guelph Humber has a kinesiology program right now. So that's an example of a program that would come and would be directly, again, related to the health ecosystem we're talking about. And then because Humber has such deep strength in health services and a really long history around nursing education in particular, our ability to partner with Guelph and build on Guelph also has some very unique programming around One Health and a very interdisciplinary approach to supporting individuals who are working in health management. And I'm sure Daniel could add to that. That we would be able to bring, again, both the strengths of the two institutions to create specific programs. And we want to work with all of the other post-secondary institutions locally, as well as with the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Colleges and Universities, because they do joint health human resource planning for the province, right? To really say, where can Guelph Humber fit in and where can we provide new programs and meet the needs here?
okay. Second question, and just very quickly, this was also a question I asked last time you were here. But you guys mentioned it right at the very start that we're already in negotiations. So that June 2021, we had a unanimous decision to enter into negotiations with Guelph Humber. So I'm just wondering where that stands right now.
So I would say it was more to start conversations on the opportunity with the city staff, and that's what began. And we, at this point, as I mentioned earlier, have provided our perspective to city staff. You see it in your report later today. And we're hoping that the next steps is to start real negotiations based on whatever parameters that are viable for you as council to work with us as we proceed to begin those conversations and negotiations.
Mr. CEO, that's...
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Bowman, yes. As I said, I believe last week, negotiations is a more finite term, and we have been in discussions. Guelph Humber has put proposals to us on their space needs, the future needs, and we've put that into a report that you have received. And in that report, it talks about the costs, the financial picture that has to take place to support that. Past that, no negotiations, certainly discussions.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Thank you so much, Councillor Bowman. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I'm listening to the delegation, and I'm definitely excited at the prospects and the potential. You know, Brampton is a growing city, and I do appreciate the perspective of having choice for everyone. But in some of your last comments, it kind of highlighted some concerns for me, because we do have Algoma University downtown. We had Sheridan share with us their ideas around health and life sciences as well, and then TMU are coming. Are you at all concerned about a competitive nature being added to this negotiation piece, and how are we going to make sure that we're not pushing out those that are here with the courses that they offer? Because there is some similarities.
Sure, I can address that. I think it's a really important question. You know, when we work within the post-secondary sector, we always want to be collaborative and supportive of all the colleges and all the universities. So I can just say that off the bat. The demographic of the students that attend the University of Guelph Humber is very different than the demographic, I would say, of those at the current institutions that are serving Brampton. So for example, both the current institutions that you mentioned have have a significant international student population. The University of Guelph Humber only currently has about 70 international students out of 5,000. So it's a very different, from that point of view, piece. The other thing is that we know, for example, that the students who apply to the University of Guelph Humber, if they are accepted but choose to go to a different institution, their top 3 other destinations are the University of Toronto, York University, and Ryerson University. So they are not choosing, in terms of their next top 3 destinations, to go to the current institutions here at the moment. With the demographics, with the nature within Peel and within Brampton, I think there's just a huge demand for post-secondary education that exists now and will continue to grow. The University of Guelph Humber is also looking at bringing in professional masters to Brampton, which would be very different than, again, is offered by anybody currently here. I think there are definitely, for example, when you look at Mississauga, you see that, for example, the University of Toronto Mississauga offers a number of business degrees, and Sheridan at their Mississauga campus offers a number of business degrees. Again, because you're attracting very different student populations into those programs. So I really believe that what we are going to bring, it's only going to help everybody ultimately, because it's also going to create an exciting buzz around Brampton as a real destination for post-secondary and build on the great work of Sheridan and Algoma in the community.
So I hear your point about that, and it offers different elements to different types of students. I do think that, when we have Algoma University here, their goal is to grow to that status where people can see it being an option for those master's courses and such. So I think that's just my biggest concern, because we don't want to snuff out what we have. We want to be able to amplify it and see everyone be successful here. So I'm just interested in seeing how this will play out and what the impacts will be, because there will be impacts. I think we have to be very honest about that. It is going to be like 25 feet away from where Algoma is, and I know that they are looking to grow and expand as well. So I'm really going to have to see and be very mindful of that, because I think relationships are very important. And we as a council have to maintain those relationships on all platforms and not alienate anybody who are here and who have great aspirations for our city as well. So we'll have to keep watching and seeing how this goes. But thank you so much for coming in and delegating.
Thanks, Councillor Williams. Councillor Medeiros.
Yeah, thank you through you, Madam Chair, and just to, I guess, to piggyback on the comments, and I think we've talked about it, regarding any type of duplication, or I guess that would be part of the review of the provincial government. So when they review, when you're in discussions with them, obviously they will look at the landscape and they will provide their technical sort of feedback, which should assure this council that there will be that consideration. if you can just comment, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. In the discussions that we've had in the last couple of months with individuals at the Ministry of Colleges and Universities, it's very clear that, you know, comprehensive labor market information is an important component to any major capacity expansion submission that is made to the ministry. And that is something that they will definitely be looking at in the terms of their assessment of the opportunity.
Thank you.
And if I may, just for the introduction of new credentials as well, new degrees, actually, we have to go through a rigorous process with the MCU as well. And at that point, they take a look at what's offered actually as well to ensure that that's part of the consideration going forward. So I think, you know, we feel with the growth that's happening here, in not just in Brampton, but the surrounding region, that there's going to be a much larger market actually here, and probably the pie can be actually divided up for everyone.
Thank you so much. Any further questions, Councillor Medeiros? All good? Okay, no further questions. Thank you so much for your delegation.
Thank you.
Our next delegation on this matter is Mr. Baldev Mutta, CEO, Punjabi Community Health Services, and he joins us virtually today. Mr. Mutta, you have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning to all the members of City Council and His Worship Mayor Patrick Brown. My name is Baldev Mutta and I'm the CEO of Punjabi Community Health Services. It's our pleasure to support the potential of relocation of the University of Gulf Humber to the Peel region in the city of Brampton. This new campus will play a vital role in continuing the ongoing regeneration of Brampton's downtown core, as well as helping to support local businesses and addressing Brampton's labor market needs. Punjabi Community Health Services is a registered charity providing services to the community in the areas of health, settlement, and social services. We have been operating since July 1990. PCHS is a health service provider with the Ministry of Health. PCHS has been associated with Humber College since September 1988 in a variety of capacities. I have taught at Humber College, and PCHS supports the students by giving them an award every year. As a CEO of PCHS, I was also invited to provide my input into developing a curriculum for the addiction and mental health program. Through my engagement with the University of Gulf Humber on this potential relocation, I have learned about their strong commitment to our city and their deep understanding of the issues we face as a community. Not only are they aware of the issues, but they have offered solutions to the ongoing issues. They understand from experience that educational institutions play an important role in many aspects of a student's life, everything from housing to mental health support. They have already begun to host informational sessions with the stakeholders that need to be engaged in these important conversations. Although I have no issues with international students studying in this city, I understand that University of Gulf Humber has a very small number registered to attend their institution. A vast majority of their students are domestic students. As the council is aware, there have been an increasing level of international students in the city, and they are facing many challenges due to the lack of support in place for them. There is a high level of stress and as a result, mental health issues which can lead to more serious outcomes if not adequately addressed by the institutions that they are enrolled at. Education is supposed to be a positive experience, one that can change the life of a student from an underprivileged background, creating many opportunities. It is a very powerful tool which empowers people to turn their lives around, breaking cycles of poverty. a lack of education isn't the root cause of poverty. The right educational institution with more choices for degree and diploma programs will provide opportunities for a greater number of local students closer to home. Brampton has been talking about the possibility of a university campus in the city for many years now. This is our chance to make it a reality with the right institution that understands our community's need. That is why we believe that the University of Gulf Humber is the one. Thank you once again for the opportunity to speak to you about my support for the proposed relocation of the University of Gulf Humber to the city of Brampton. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Baldev, for joining us and for your delegation today. I see no speakers at this time on the list, so thank you very much for your delegation, Baldev. Our next delegation is from Dr. Parminder Singh, Vice Chair of Ontario Sikhs and Gurdwara Council. Welcome, Parminder, and go Leafs go.
Wonderful. I may have lost a bit of my voice last night after all the excitement, so thank you. Good morning, Your Worship, Mayor Patrick Brown, our Chair Santos, esteemed members of Council. My name is Dr. Parminder Singh, one of the many, I can't say hats, I'll say many turbans I wear. As the Vice Chair of Ontario Sikhs and Gurdwara Council, thank you for providing me with this opportunity to speak in support of this proposed relocation of the University of Guelph Humber to our wonderful city of Brampton. On behalf of my organization, the Ontario Sikhs and Gurdwara Council, the OSGC, which is a non-political representative body of individual Sikhs and Gurdwaras in the province of Ontario. The OSGC is an organization whose aspirations are to provide religious and social leadership to raise awareness of Sikh philosophy, Sikh principles, and heritage. OSGC strives to promote Sikh values and the universal benefits that Sikhs bring to the communities they reside in. One of the fundamental pillars of the Sikh faith is equality. In our daily prayers, as Sikh, we pray for Sarvat da Bhala, which in its literal translation just means praying for welfare for all. Sikhism teaches us that everyone must everyone must be treated equally regardless of their faith, their gender, social status, and I couldn't think of a better way to fight against inequality than through the access to higher education. Access to higher education allows for equal opportunities for everyone, irrespective of their background. The University of Guelph Humber's proposed relocation to the city of Brampton will provide just that. Access to a higher education here locally in Brampton. It will provide the students here with more choices that are closer to home for our student population. Now, with these choices that will actually meet the needs of our future students and give them the opportunity to obtain a university degree from a respected educational institution. Currently, students do have to travel outside of Brampton. They're traveling outside of the city to obtain a university degree, and your typical student has to incur the higher costs of transportation, housing, which creates further barriers to entry, especially for those who come from a lower income family and lower income households. This makes it obtaining a post-secondary education just that much more difficult. As my colleague Mr. Mutta had mentioned, that one of the primary reasons for poverty is also the lack of access to higher education. So when I first learned about this proposed relocation from those that are involved with the plans, and they've been staying in touch with us and providing us updates on the status, now this level of outreach is a real strength and testament to the University of Guelph Humber's commitment to the city of Brampton. Through these information sessions, I also learned about the shared space with the public library, which is a space that will be available for students, seniors, and everyone in between. This partnership does create a real sense of community. The Ontario Sikhs and Gurdwara Council is looking forward to seeing this potential move become a reality very soon. I just want to thank you once again for providing me with this opportunity to speak on behalf of my organization in support of this motion to allow easier access to post-secondary education for Bramptonians through the relocation of University of Guelph Humber to this beautiful city of Brampton. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Parminder. I do have a question from Councillor Medeiros.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Parminder, for your thoughts and sharing it, and especially representing the organization. If I recall, you ran for MPP, right, for the Liberal Party?
That is correct.
Yeah, and I remember I supported you, unofficially, but I thought you were great. You would understand that who's responsible for university education is the provincial government.
Absolutely.
So I guess my question to you is, if we were to face Brampton residents with the 5 to 7% tax increase, would the Association of Gurdwaras and the organization you represent, would they be able to support the community by supporting a 5 to 7% increase at the City of Brampton on an item which is really, it's a great to have, and we're trying to attract a university, but ultimately you would understand, through you, Madam Chair, since you ran yourself, that what we responsible for, and when we go to the electorate in a couple of months, it's stuff that we do as a municipality. And university education is not necessarily our responsibility. We do it because we see the economic development, that's our responsibility. But would your organization support a 5 to 7% impact on the tax base, one? And second, would they advocate with us to the provincial MPPs by letting them know that they should come and support and actually put in the dollars that rightfully they should be putting in? And certainly we'll provide what we can from the City of Brampton, but when you deal with the context which we dealt with, and you've probably been following, 4 years of tax, freezes, and then we move forward, and pending on what it is, so I don't know what the financial, but just some comments. You think we could get that support publicly, especially to the community, to say, it's important to get institutions here. There will be a cost of business. So I think it's twofold. One is the tax, and second, can we get you to advocate to the provincial government to rightfully, whoever the provincial government is after whatever June is, to come in with some dollars and support our community, because we certainly are underfunded here in the City of Brampton.
No, absolutely. Well, thank.
Point of personal privilege to Councillor Singh.
I don't think it's public.
What?
Is it public?
Of what?
The tax increase? Because we haven't.
I'm not specific. I'm not speaking to specifics. I'm just saying, based on the knowledge that we know today,
Okay.
what we could afford.
Yeah.
If it was a certain amount for the Innovation Center, which
Yeah.
we deliberate during our budget,
Yeah.
because we offset it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
For us to be able to afford it, that would
Yeah.
have a tax impact.
But there were other options to do this as.
Oh, I'm just saying that if there was a tax
That's why I think it might be
impact.
not fair to put that on somebody when there are other options, and they're not privy to that information.
Well, I'm
We
not
haven't
sure what
discussed
point
it.
privilege is.
It
I've asked it.
is- No, it's number D, the accuracy of published reports. So what I'm saying is there's a bunch of options. We haven't talked about it, so why are we putting it on a resident? That's all I'm saying. Let's talk about it. We haven't picked our option. When we pick our option and it is a 4 to 5% increase, then it would be fair. But I'm saying we haven't even talked about it.
But if that is one of the considerations for you, Madam Chair, and if Dr. Parminder Singh would like to respond to it.
So hypothetically, if we do go with this option, then you'd want to.
Oh, I'm not even suggesting any options.
Yeah.
I'm not even discussing any options. I'm just saying.
But by saying 4 to 5% increase, you are by
Okay,
default.
so let's change
So,
it then.
how
If
about-
there was a tax impact, regarding that tax impact.
May I respond to this?
Yes, go for it, Dr. Parminder Singh.
Yeah, Councilor Medeiros, let's do this in I guess, two parts. In my hypothetical retrospective from a 2018 perspective and point of view, where I was privy to certain aspects of a provincial budget, one of my biggest push was to have a full-fledged university in Brampton. Now, that is information that I was fully had disclosure to as a member of as a candidate running in that 2018 election. Yes, the province should be supporting such a move for the city of Brampton, seeing the lack of, from every angle, whether it's healthcare services, transportation, education. Brampton always seems to miss the boat, miss the bus on this. Why is that the case? If it requires more advocacy from my organization, from myself, yes, we will and are fully supporting that move. And it is very important for us to recognize as voters, and especially representatives of voters, that passing the buck on to the city is generally never a viable solution. It's also important to recognize how the province is looking at their budget and what share of that budget is actually coming to the city of Brampton. So yes, we will continue to advocate, speak to our current elected officials, MPPs in the area, and those vying for a seat as well. And again, the election is just right around the corner.
Yeah, and through you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Dr. Perminder Singh, that's exactly kind of what I was saying, is essentially you won't find one member of council doesn't support bringing the institution. So all these delegations are coming forward saying that they support the university. Listen, I'm open arms. Yeah. The problem I have, and what has been always the discussion, is affordability. So what I would hope as part of the advocacy and knowing your organization and the influence it has in the community is that we also put the test on the provincial government, whoever that provincial government it is, to help us be able to bring an institution here, and that it's not solely on taxpayers, because the taxpayers already, we get a certain amount of the budget, that taxpayers, and we probably deliver more services in all levels of government, and we do, but we get a small piece of the pie. So in other communities, they've received universities, they set up CHOP, and the idea of them coming is great. But other communities haven't had to put up the buck that we have to put to come here. So all I'm saying is it would be great to get provincial partners to come board. So it's not a question if, do we support or not? We support. But give us, how are we going to find the ways?
Agreed. And I think I would welcome this with open arms and say that we are on board to have these future discussions on how we can support and will continue to support City of Brampton to ensure that the students here have that access to education. Because as Councillor Singh can speak to, and probably Councillor Dillon, who I know have commuted outside of Brampton, Ryerson, University of Toronto, and so forth to obtain an education, how much of a toll that took upon their families and themselves when you have to commute an hour and a half back and forth. That's 3 hours of your day. And so if we want to ensure a brighter future for Brampton, our organization will definitely be on board to support the city and the city councillors in their support of getting a higher education, post-secondary university here in the city of Brampton.
Thank you so much, and I hope that I'll see you again when they put your name on the ballot. I think the community really needs your political activism, and I thank you for your leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hopefully we get the Leafs to the next round. I think thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Perminder. Oh, Councillor Singh. We do have one question from Councillor Singh.
Dr. Perminder, I just wanted to say thank you for coming. Also, maybe for the context of council, I personally know, but also this isn't only post-secondary educational institution or programming that you've advocated for on behalf of your organization. Maybe just for the benefit, if you could talk about the recent roundtable you've held for Toronto Medical University and the medical school and engaging with on international students, just for context.
No, absolutely. I think, so thank you, Councillor Singh, that looking at the importance of medical college, having a medical college here in Brampton was very near and dear to my heart. When I was applying for medical school here, the seats were so far limited. I could be a top student and have plenty of extracurricular, but it was still so complicated and difficult. I had to leave the country to go study medicine and come back in. And it became a real concern for me that being Canadian, being in Ontario, having all the facilities and all the support that we can potentially have, yet we're shipping greater minds than even I don't see myself as a caliber of the other students that had to leave, to be leaving the country and not coming back. And so when I heard of the former University of Ryerson wanting to move or at least pursue this option of having a medical school here in Brampton, we jumped right on board because this was very important. It opened up more seats, and especially residency positions. It's one thing to have seats in the university, but it's another to ensure that these doctors can actually find a residency position to be able to work. And then on the second component of your question about the international students, it's a lot of the colleges who were intaking a lot of international students, as mentioned earlier by Mr. Mutta, fail to respond to one of the responsibilities of ensuring that your students whom you are charging such a greater tuition fee for are supported. And so that fell upon the doors of the Gurdwaras of Ontario. And a lot of these students are coming from Punjab. And we are not equipped to provide that level of support that these students needed. But what we are able to do is advocate to the universities and colleges who are taking them in these large numbers to ensure that they have a responsibility they need to fulfill. It's not just a bottom line. And hence why we will continue to have these discussions and holding colleges and universities responsible and accountable for the international students who do come in. And this is precisely why, with University of Guelph Humber wanting to move to Brampton, it was a tie-in because some of the programs that they provide and offer are not targeting individuals abroad. This is domestic students, especially here in Brampton, who can respond to our changing economic platform and our environment. So very important, and I know we spoke of competition. I heard Councillor Williams about your questions about competition earlier. Me personally, for one, I'm for competition. I want them to compete for our students and provide a better program, better education, but yes, to ensure that we can fully support whoever does come in here. And that was the main reason why I threw my support behind University of Guelph Humber.
Thank you. I thought that was important context for your organization. Thank you for everything you do. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Singh, and thank you, Dr. Parminder. Go Leafs, go. Our next delegation is from the downtown Brampton BIA. I believe Susie Godfroy is here with us today, and I'm not sure if Carrie's with us as well, but Susie, go ahead.
Good morning. No, Carrie unfortunately was unable to make this morning's delegation, but I did want to...
Just very quickly, Susie, we seem to be getting an echo here a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if you've got two speakers on, perhaps.
Nope, I just have my laptop here. So...
If you want to try again, then maybe Mr. Clerk let us know.
Yeah. Can you, is it still echoey?
It is, Susie. Maybe if you can just turn down the volume on your speakers, that might help.
Okay, let's see here. Okay.
If you could just say something else, we'll just...
Hello?
Yeah,
it's a bit better, yeah.
It's a bit better. There's still a bit of an echo.
Okay, I'll try here. I did want to say good morning to Council, Mayor Patrick Brown, city staff, and our Brampton stakeholders. Am I still echoey?
A little bit, but please proceed.
Okay, well, I did want to start by saying I'm a proud graduate at the University of Guelph, and I'm really excited to be here this morning to make a delegation in support of the potential relocation of the University of Guelph Humber to the city of Brampton and potentially to the downtown core. We know by pursuing and securing this opportunity of the relocation of the University of Guelph Humber into the downtown core, it will play a vital role in the ongoing regeneration and revitalization of our downtown business district. I also wanted to say that the University of Guelph Humber would also be an essential component to Brampton Center for Innovation, serving as an anchor tenant to the CFI, building and connecting students to the many diverse downtown businesses, and to further reinforce Brampton's reputation as a leader in education and innovation. We know that this investment will have a tremendous and very positive impact on our downtown business community, the local residents of Brampton, and the whole city of Brampton. So I'm here to state on behalf of the Downtown Brampton BIA, let's make this happen for Brampton and, of course, our downtown core. And this will certainly have a great impact with all the work that the city has been doing with Brampton's Innovation District. So I just wanted to state that we're full support for this exciting opportunity. And again, I'm here on behalf of our chair, first of all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susie, for your delegation. Do any members have any questions for Susie? I see no questions for Susie at this time. Thank you, Susie, and Downtown BIA for your delegation.
Thank you.
Our next delegation is from, I believe, Azad Goyet. That's correct. Part of Brampton First organization, and Azad joins us this morning in person. I believe you've brought a resident as well with you, and I apologize, I'm looking for...
Chair Santos, it's Mahindra Nagar who is joining Azad.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Azad, Mr. Azad, you have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Brown, Madam Chair and Council. I'm here why we need Brampton University. Why we need it? We are talking since 4 years why need it. So everybody knows why we need it. We see there are 103 universities in Canada. There are 24 public funded universities in Ontario. We are the 9th largest city in Canada. We are the 4th largest city in Ontario. Ontario has 24 universities and we don't. Why we don't? This is a very challenging question. We are struggling. Even for a university, since decades we are ignored by every level of government. I will say the provincial level at this level because that deals with the universities. Let's talk since 2018 what has been done. The council unitedly worked for a full-fledged university in Brampton with 11-0. And council created a momentum, involved the residents, presentations were done by Ryerson, Algoma, Sheridan, Tally town halls were organized by the city. Brampton U project was initiated. Studies done by the city. Brampton U project was submitted to the province. I remember in one town hall, MPP Sarkaria and MPP Amarjot Sandhu were present. They took part, and almost 9,000 residents took part. They want university in Brampton, BRAM-U. I will say residents are confused as of today. We are hearing different opinions and statements from the council, from the MPPs, that project was submitted, project was not submitted, project was submitted, it was not submitted. Even in the recent conservative meeting with the Prime Asia, all 5 conservative candidates were there, and Amarjot, MPP Amarjot Sandhu openly said that no project was submitted. If the project has been submitted, we might have posted and there might be a university in Brampton. So we are lacking. Where we are lacking? The residents are electing you. We are electing you, council, to work for us.
Thank you,
So-
Mr. Azad. I'm just going to interrupt very quickly because right now the delegation that you're speaking to is listed under University of Guelph Humber. So I'm just reminding you, and I'll make sure that you get the time back in this interruption. But if you can now focus on University of Guelph Humber.
No,
please.
I will do because in my submission too, in my delegation, I said I will talk about BRAM-U as well the University of Guelph Humber. So council, in Brampton, all institutions are welcome. We are welcoming Ryerson, we are welcoming Algoma, we are welcoming Sheridan expansion, and we are welcoming University of Guelph Humber. I personally took part in many delegations and closely watched the city meetings, and Brampton should be a home of every institution. Whatever the institution, whosoever the institute is interested in Brampton, we are the home. The city council must consider positively that we are an ignored city. We don't have any post-secondary university in Brampton, so they should welcome all the institutions, including University of Guelph Humber, with open-handed, but with a better negotiated term and conditions. And I want to request Ryerson, Algoma, Sheridan, let's not be a hindrance to create a BRAMU. We are always talking, oh, we are expanding. So BRAMU is a brand that should be in Brampton. BRAMU will be a pioneer institution in Brampton, and we have the collaboration with world-renowned institutions. It is evident as of today. I'm not talking about this municipal level or provincial level or federal level. We are divided. That's why we are lacking. When a small city can have a university, why don't Brampton must have a university? And we are requesting all the representatives or all level, please work for the best interest of the citizens, of the residents whom they are electing you, and they work for their bread and butter, and they are electing you, we are paying your salaries, wages to work for themselves. Residents of Brampton are welcoming University of Gulf Humber. We are welcoming, and we are requesting city to best negotiate with the University of Gulf Humber to make this reality happen in Brampton. BRAMU is also a need of hour, it's a need of time. But expansion of other institutions or presence of other institutions must not be at the cost of BRAMU. We the resident want to see a full-fledged BRAMU in Brampton, which has a collaboration with world-renowned institution. So it's a time for all of us, the residents, the representative, to work together to make this happen, BRAMU in Brampton. Let's not put that project in cold list or in a garbage bin. Enough has been done on BRAMU. Studies has been done, lot of work has been done. Everybody is aware. I think province is also aware because our provincial representative also took part in the meetings. So let's create a momentum again to have BRAMU in Brampton as soon as possible. Thank you so much. And I want to say Brampton first, resident first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Azad. I do have some questions from members of council. Councilor Maderos.
Thank you very much to you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your passion for the community. And I always look forward to your delegations, and certainly you're very articulate, and I really appreciate your interest in a lot of these issues. So one thing I've known about yourself, respectfully, has always been financial discipline. So you don't like waste at the city, and you want us to ensure that we have financial discipline. As a representative, and you talk about putting Brampton residents first, are you comfortable with a tax increase? If we bring an institution, and what do you think a tax increase would look like, and what are you willing to support? So, from a budgetary perspective, I just hope that from what I'm hearing from residents is that, yes, we need an institution, but what are you willing to support in a tax increase, and would you support a tax increase?
Council, that Bramptonians are already paying the highest property tax comparing to the neighboring city. So it's a council duty to find out the other ways. There is one taxpayer. We are paying the municipal portion, provincial portion, as well as the federal portion. So how much pressure a taxpayer can have? See the inflation, everything is increasing. See the gas prices. If we are increasing and putting the pressure just on at one taxpayer, that's not fair. The city council should work to find the other ways, should work locally, how they can generate more revenue. They should work for the province, because we are ignored. We are already ignored. So why we don't have the university when a small town of 25,000 people can have a university? We are 700,000 plus residents in Brampton, officially, unofficially is more. So why don't, it's the duty of the province that bring money and give to Brampton resident because they are ignored. So it's your duty, it's our duty to motivate and pressurize the levels of government to arrange that money for us.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, and not to put words in your mouth, so what I heard and I agree with a lot of your sentiments that first, we should try find other creative solutions. You wouldn't want to see an impact on the tax base. That's one, because you feel we already pay too much. And second, you would hope other levels of government would sort of come in and support it, since we've been underfunded in many areas like healthcare and education. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what essentially I understood. And then after just a little small correction, we have Algoma University downtown Brampton. Small, it's growing, expanding, an important partner, but I understand the point. But I thank you so much, and I think I understand from my financial impact. Yeah, go ahead, through you, Madam Chair. Yeah.
Councillor, that university is a small university, 500 students, and see the population of Brampton. It's not justified that we have the university. Actually, we don't consider it a university. University, we need a full-fledged university in Brampton, which accommodate more than 30,000, 40,000 students in Brampton.
Thank you. No, and it's great, but I really appreciate your comments regarding in terms of the financials, because it's important for us to know as a council that I think, again, all of us support it, but how can we afford it? So we'll look for other creative solutions, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Azad Goyat, and also for joining us as well. Thank you for joining us and for your delegation.
So he want to delegate individually too?
Oh, did you have anything further to add?
Yes.
Oh, he had something.
Because he's supporting just University of Gulf Humber.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm just speaking on behalf of Mr. Mahindra.
Okay.
Because he has some eye surgeries and all that, so he cannot read and speak. He's saying he's a grandfather. He has 4 grandchildren. Do they don't deserve to study locally at their hometown? See how the family can afford the residential expenses as well as the meal plans outside Brampton. Not every family is self-sufficient that they can afford everything. So he has concern. In my picture too, there is one big picture. Like we have so many residents in the park. Can you? I think I submitted that picture I sent that picture to you. There are 40, 50 people. They are grandparents. They have the grandchildren. So they are concerned why their grandchildren are not allowed to study in Brampton locally. So these are the voices. These grandparents want their children to study locally with a good quality education in Brampton. So this question is all the time in the air. Why not? Why not? Why not? So Mr. Mahindra is saying that he is welcoming University of Gulf Humber in Brampton. Every institution is welcome in Brampton. How we feel? If you have many institutions in Brampton, we are an education hub. What do you think? We will grow economically. We have the good high paid jobs. Why not? Don't we deserve it? Yes, we deserve it. But who will bring this reality? The levels of government should work together to make it happen. So he is just concerned that why his children are not allowed to study in Brampton when they do deserve it, when a small town has a university, their residents study locally, there is ease on parents, because parents are earning. So if every parent is not earning good, that they can afford to study outside. So he is welcoming University of Gulf Humber. Even University of Gulf Humber is ready for rebranding, to bring the different courses. So we are welcoming that one. But city should find the ways at the best negotiable term. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Mahendra Nagar, for joining us as well, and Azad for speaking on his behalf, and also for your delegation. I have a motion moved by Councillor Paleshi to receive the delegations 1 through 5 today. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. That motion carries. Thank you. I also have a motion regarding the correspondence that was deferred from our previous Committee of Council, 11.4.1, correspondence from the University of Gulf Humber, possible relocation to the City of Brampton. Motion moved by Councillor Singh to receive the correspondence. Anyone opposed? Thank you so much. That motion carries. Thank you, everybody, on that delegation item. We're now going to move on to 6.2, delegations regarding Canadian Printable Electronics Symposium, CPS. And today, CPES, I apologize. Today we have Tony Charhain, CEO, Myant, and also Michelle Kretchen, President and CEO, and Howard W. Campbell, Chair, Board of Directors, IntelliFlex Innovation Alliance. I believe they're joining us perhaps virtually today. And you have 5 minutes for your delegation. Please go ahead.
Tony, you can unmute your mic to address committee.
Sorry, is that okay now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Tony Shaheen. I am the CEO of Myant. Myant is a textile computing platform that is redefining how we provide access to care for everyone, anywhere and anytime, and especially from the comfort of their home. We're growing very fast. Currently, we have 160 team members, and projecting to add around 1,500 employees in the next 5 years. We have currently over 81 patents. We're also licensed by Health Canada for Class 2 medical device license. We are building a completely new category that is highly innovative and completely vertical. From polymer science to textile engineering, weaving, knitting, mechanical, electrical, chemical, signal processing, and AI, as well as leveraging medical staff, doctors, nurses, and rehab practitioner. Our ecosystem of the Myant ecosystem will create adjacent SMEs, very, very strong around us wherever we go. I refer to it similar to what BlackBerry did when they started in Waterloo back in the early 2000s. We have a partnership with Mayo Clinic in the United States. We have partnership here in Canada with UHN. Recently, we launched our partnership with South Lake in their cardiovascular disease clinic, and we started onboarding 55,000 patients. These are patients living with cardiovascular disease into our platform, so they don't have to deal with waiting and issues and related to that. Maybe you can go to the next slide if you want. This slide will show you a bit about how we are creating our human central virtual healthcare model. It allows for remote monitoring. You can have multi-modalities. For example, you have 1 to 3 lead ECG, as well as your glucose type data, your hypertension, your movement, your sleep disorder, all in one web portal or app. Next, please. Next slide. So the Myant virtual clinic consists of a textile connector at the front end. These could be any type of textile: underwear, bras, tank top, chest band, socks, or knee band. They're all washable and dryable in the same way. They essentially connect to an app. The app could sit on your phone or on a web portal, and then it all interconnected to a doctor or to a clinical portal whereby there is a patient-facing front end and a clinical management on the other side. Next, please. Next slide, please. And these are some of the examples of our textile. You can see a bra over here or an underwear. Essentially, they act like what we refer to as a DSL cable to the human body. They enable 24/7 detection of certain biomarkers, such as 1 to 3 lead ECG. These are to replace all of those patches and wire one has to put on their body if they have cardiovascular disease or cardiovascular assessment. The bra or the underwear or the tank top can detect sinus rhythm, AFib, arrhythmia, activity and motion, sleep, breathing rate, core body temperature, as well as location. Next, please. And the way our model works, in order to create this robust connectedness between the human body and this provider, whether it's a hospital or a clinic, we have developed a very unique data fusion technology. So our primary layer, essentially using any type of textile, work with a secondary layer, could be a wristband or a medical device or a blood pressure device or x-rays or blood tests. All of those are fused, attached to the patient's data. So when a doctor is looking at a patient's data, they can see a holistic view of the patient. It will allow for a much better remote relationship, and it will reduce significant amount of false negative type of result. Next, please. Our model, given that everyone is wearing textile on a near continuous basis, it will provide a proactive type model. It will deal with a continuous and long range type data as opposed to episodical type data. So we can start making a huge dent in this promise of preventative type care and reduce people waiting in line in hospitals, or they have to defer they have to wait significant time to meet their specialist. The benefit of having our solution, it will allow a patient from the comfort of their home to share their data with their specialist, regardless where their specialist is. Next, please. And essentially, what we do very well, we provide this universal access to especially to the marginalized, the poor, the sick, the very old, and the very young. We truly do this in a way that offer the best kind of access to health and wellness. Our technology that we have currently today, that is produced today and shipping today, it can put a bra, an underwear, a tank top to every aging person, and start leveraging, for example, our cardiovascular disease monitoring tool to detect the presence of AFib, arrhythmia, detect stroke, hypertension, congestive heart failure symptoms, all on a continuous basis. And then it allows for a model where the family could be participating in the care of their loved ones, as well as a doctor from far away. But at a minimum, it will allow for a behavior intervention model to deliver a much, much better outcome. We as a company, as I mentioned, we're growing very fast. We would love the opportunity to work with Brampton and grow our presence and build a much stronger future in this type of new healthcare that we allow for, and start distributing care to everyone on an equal level. Thank you very, very much for providing me the opportunity to explain a bit about Myant. Our story is very complicated. Like any new category, it's very different disciplines at the same time. We have all disciplines of engineering under one roof. Some of the members have visited us at our location. Hopefully, what I've showed you today represent what we represent mine in the best way possible. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Tony Chahine. And I do have some questions from members of council or members of committee on the board, yes. But I know that Michelle is also delegating. Councillor Medeiros and Councillor Williams, did you want to wait until Michelle is done her delegation? Okay, thank you very much. Michelle, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for the time and the opportunities. Thank you to council members. And thank you to my friend Tony for teeing up my delegation so well, because what Tony just shared really speaks to the pride and purpose of IntelliFlex that I wanted to tell you about that today. So my name is Michelle Chrétien, and I'm serving as the CEO and president of an organization called IntelliFlex, and I'm joined today by the chair of our board of directors, who is actually in person, live in council chamber with you today. So IntelliFlex is an industry association, and it was created more than a decade ago with the support of the National Research Council of Canada in an effort to support what was at the time a really nascent printed and flexible electronics community. At the time, Canada was already really punching above its weight when it came to the research and development of the technology that adds intelligence to everyday objects and really enables the Internet of Everything. And I think what Tony just shared provides an amazing example of where this technology is today. So at the time IntelliFlix was created, it was designed to support the developing commercial ecosystem, and I think you can see how much that ecosystem has evolved. So today IntelliFlex has evolved itself, and we still have a strong Canadian presence, but we now welcome members from around the globe. Our members range from startups, scale-ups, all the way to global Fortune 500s. And our ecosystem has expanded beyond technology providers to also include companies like mine, who are end user application specialists, large consumer brands, and also supporting technology companies such as those who are working with 5G or cybersecurity and things like that. So the types of things that are involved in that you might think about are wearables, like we just heard, but also so pardon me, I'm having some voice allergy issues. So the CPES, which I also...
Michelle, hi, it's Peter Fay, the city clerk. Michelle, you're breaking up, so maybe if you just wish to turn off your video.
And our goal with this event, which... Me?
Hi, Michelle, yes, your video is breaking up and your sound as well, so maybe just turn off your video and we'll see if that clears things up.
Done. Now you all know what I look like anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Please go ahead.
All right. Okay. So CPES, I'll begin at the beginning of the CPES in case you missed something. It is Canada's premier conference and trade show exhibition for flexible and hybrid electronics. These are the technologies enabling wearables, everything from smartwatches to smart cities, as I said. The goal of this conference, which has been running for more than a decade at this point, is to help advance research, but also build industry supply chains, expand business and partnerships, and also foster diversity throughout our ecosystem. It's a bit different from an academic conference in the sense that our focus is really around networking and bringing industry together, again, to foster those collaborations that will advance the overall commercial ecosystem. We will welcome speakers from around the world that are going to talk to us about textile electronics, such as what Maya was just describing, sustainability, Internet of Things, sensors, cybersecurity, etc., and also highlighting some of the most recent developments in materials and processes for creating and manufacturing novel electronics, like printed and flexible. So this year, we are very excited to be partnering with the City of Brampton for our event. And one of the reasons that we really wanted to partner with Brampton was because of its demonstrated commitment to innovation, its leadership through the creation of the Brampton Innovation District, and of course its wonderful location in the middle of the Waterloo-Toronto Innovation Corridor. So as a hosting partner, we hope to bring profile to the city and their efforts around supporting innovation and the future of technology and tech businesses. And we're excited to profile the city through our conference itself, but also through our international marketing partners. IntelliFlex is in close partnership with our like-minded organizations around the world, which include AFLIN in France, OEA, headquartered in Germany, but covering all of Europe, and also Sister Association in Taiwan. So through our partner organizations and, like I said, our international marketing partners, we hope to spread the word of the amazing innovation focus that Brampton has. I'm going to hand it over to the chair of our board, Howard, to fill in any gaps that I inevitably missed. But before I do, I'd really like to take the opportunity to recognize and thank the members of the city's economic development team for their vision and also for their wonderful partnership and support as we've worked to put together this event. And of course, I did catch a little bit of the announcement earlier on the Collision run-up event, and we're happily promoting that event in the city as well through our marketing partners. So at this time, I'll pass it quickly to Howard, who I believe is there in person.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And yes, over to you, Howard. Just keep in mind that we are now officially running out of time on this allocation, but go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brown, Madam Chair, Council. Pleasure to be here. I'm based in Ottawa, but I wanted to demonstrate our appreciation and commitment to the City of Brampton by being here in person. It pains me, but I'll have to say Go Leafs Go. I'm a Sens fan myself, but they're well behind now. I just wanted to elaborate a little bit more about what IntelliFlex is about. IntelliFlex runs CPES. So CPES is the Canadian Printed Electronics Symposium. That's the event itself. But I think you'll find it interesting that IntelliFlex is part of our name. Our full name is IntelliFlex Innovation Alliance. And a lot of discussion here today has been around innovation, and that's what this organization is about. And as Michelle had pointed out, our key benefit to our members and others that participate in this event is networking. And so we're bringing people from across the world into Brampton, into the Rose Theatre, and they will be discussing innovation. They will be discussing cybersecurity, because much of what we do is now linked to the Internet of Things, and because that's wireless, we need the cybersecurity. We're very pleased to have Councillor Medeiros and Vicente presenting at the beginning of each of our two sessions. And I also wanted to thank Anes Rashid and Devin Ramphal for their efforts, because there's been a lot of work that's gone into this. And at this point, if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. And Michelle does a very thorough job, so I suspect there are very few, but I'd be happy to entertain anything you might have. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Howard. I have Councillor Williams. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Howard, for coming to delegate Michelle and Tony. It's an exciting symposium that you're going to be putting on. And I already see the synergies, because you speak very confidently in Brampton's future developments around innovation tech and especially health and life sciences. So I wanted to just point my comments to Tony and just ask him a quick question, because I had the opportunity to go to Myant and to see his technology, and was blown away by the technology, by the operations, every single aspect. And so Tony, I know that, you know, we have TMUs coming with the medical school. We have like Sheridan, Algoma, and possibly UGH. We have many different institutions here that are focusing on health and life sciences. How do you feel your technology, and also Howard and Michelle, you can speak to the symposium, how do you feel the technologies in this area of expertise fits in with those who are looking to Brampton for medical futures in schools?
I mean, the more research, the more education, the more labs, the better it is. We are ushering a completely new reality of connectedness. You see, when you look at how hyper-connected the world is becoming, we have to ask ourselves, how do we see human connecting in a hyper-connected world? And so you're going to start seeing, in Japan, for example, I would ask you if you look at Society 5.0 concept that the Prime Minister of Japan initiated sometime in 2016, where the initiative was to deal with elderly and the very young and the people who cannot express themselves in the presence of technology. So the biggest challenge in the future is, how do we stay relevant here in Canada to the advancement, or how do we use technology to keep our society participating and receive that benefit? So, for example, in our case, textile, since 100% of the population is wearing textile all the time, we felt textile is the best medium to become the interface to create connectedness on a continuous basis. So you're going to start seeing all sort of new jobs in UX, UI, in the type of clinical advice, in coaching, in engineering, in signal processing, in AI, because you're not dealing anymore with reactive type data. The data is going to flow on a continuous basis. Human going to be participating with autonomous cars, with robots, with cameras, with sensors, with wearables, and all of those things need to be connected to the human body in a passive and ambient way. So it's a very different future, very innovative, and the new jobs of the future is going to rely significantly on a higher level of education. not just in universities, in colleges, in high schools, in polytechnique type. All of those things need to come together in a welcoming society that embrace startups and allow startup to take some risk and go the distance. There's many dreamers way better than us and way better than me who unfortunately couldn't continue. They had great ideas, but they couldn't go the distance and deliver a product. We're fortunate enough that we had the backing to go the distance. We spent 10 years to validate what we have. But going back to your question, I think the more universities, the more college, the more microcredits, the more training, the more co-ops, the better you're going to create a culture. You can become a very unique city in providing that talent under one roof, if you will. It could be across Brampton, across all of those universities, and you will have each college, each university, each high school delivering a piece of that puzzle. But it's a completely new puzzle, I may say. It's not let's look back to see what they've done somewhere and let's copy it. It's no longer that case. We have to be innovative and we have to read the future. And I will go back to this. If the future dependency is going to be on autonomous cars, on automation, one has to ask themselves how humans are going to participate with robots, with autonomous cars, with connected cities, smart homes, smart hospital. So the question has to be, can we in Canada, in Toronto, in Brampton, create a new medium and a new connectedness and enable that kind of an ecosystem?
That's wonderful. And
If I may add to Tony's excellent comments, the future is multidisciplinary in a way that the present just isn't. And in the future, the question is not going to be medicine or engineering. The answer is going to be both. And so to support an innovation ecosystem that leans into collaboration and supporting new ideas and new ventures at the intersection of those things is really, I think, how we create the future and the kind of thing that Tony's talking about.
Absolutely.
well, it's wonderful, and you framed it so very well. In Brampton is becoming such we are a very young population, and we have also an aging population, and especially when you look to the future and what wearable technology will do to our healthcare system for the residents in this city. It just means that we are going to be more connected. You are going to see families being able to support and watch over their aging family members and such, and especially as we have more long-term care home beds opening. And I just think it's really great to see Maya, and thanks Tony for supporting this wearable tech and the symposium. And so this is a really great initiative, and I just think you are really highlighting to our youth and young people in Brampton that the future is theirs for them to seize, and that they're going to be able to get into a whole different facet of healthcare, life science, and technology. So thank you so much for being here and delegating. I'm happy to receive the delegation.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, just to Councillor Williams' point, if I may, and I'll keep it short because I know everybody's been here a pretty long time. Tony and Michelle highlighted the need for integration, which is what your innovation district provides to a large extent. You have a health aspect as well. It's interesting because as you look to the future, you see 5G technology, and it requires all of these components, because if you want to have wireless connectivity from the wearables, you have to have the technology for that. You have to protect it with cybersecurity. You need companies that are able to print the antenna on conformal material so it's not uncomfortable for the user to wear. We have all of that coming together at CPES. And in addition to that, we're bringing people into the city. We've made sure that the hotel is based in Brampton, that the guests have been directed to. We're at the Rose Theatre. We have hired caterers from the city of Brampton. This will be distributed to 18,000 people on mailing lists. So the city of Brampton's getting highlighted, including the Rose Theatre, the Innovation District. At the end of CPES, there's a tour of the Innovation District organized for us, and we've also been promoting the Collision conference that follows right after our event. So we thank you very much, and we're doing our best to reciprocate by promoting your interests. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you very
Howard.
much.
and Michelle and Tony. I have a motion from Councillor Williams to receive the delegation. Anyone opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. Our next item of the agenda is delegation from David Harmsworth, Thursday evening concerts at Gage Park, bandstand fees. David, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Mayor Brown, Madam Chair, members of council and staff, good morning and thank you for your time to hear me. The Brampton Concert Band was formed in 1884 by James Crawford as the Brampton Mechanics Band and is one of the oldest community concert bands in Canada. The band was originally comprised mostly of workers in the Haggart Foundry of Brampton and has provided live music to the citizens of Brampton continually for 137 years, playing at local functions and in concerts in venues such as Gage Park and the Rose Theatre. The band began the tradition of music in Gage Park, playing in the bandstand that was constructed for the band in 1903. The original bandstand was moved to Rosalie Park early in the 1950s so that the current bandstand could be constructed to accommodate the growing numbers within the band. The Brampton Concert Band and the Jazz Mechanics are still keeping up the tradition of free live music in Gage Park by organizing, implementing, and performing in the Gage Park Thursday night concert series. The series begins this June 9th and runs till September 8th. In order to ensure the future of this great downtown Brampton event, we are asking to have the fees for the use of our bandstand waived. We respectfully hope that council will consider our request.
Thank you so much, David. And I have a couple of questions. Councillor Medeiros, you are first, followed by Councillor Willens.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, thank you for the delegation and certainly thank you for everything that you've personally done for the city of Brampton and also the Thursday concert series. When I was elected, I must confess I wasn't aware of the Thursday night concert series, and as I became more of a I would spend more time in the downtown, and I was amazed to see how the community really appreciates the concert. I myself have going for a stroll with my wife, and we'll sit around listening to some of the music, and you have a following, which is great. And when we talk about all these granular events and initiatives that we have for the city of Brampton, sometimes it's these events are really these are the events that really make up community engagement, and sometimes we complicate things. So I know we usually request a staff report, and right now I would love to move that we waive the fees just to staff through you, Madam Chair. How much is the cost? What are we talking about?
Through you, Madam Chair, I think staff need to come to the mic just because there's people participating electronically that they can hear, please. Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you for your question, Councillor Medeiros. What we would hope for is that council would consider waiving the fees for the next 5 years, which would take us to the end of the term of the next council to ensure that we have music in Gage Park on Thursday evenings. The total rental costs for that period, subject to any increases that may happen over that time period, but right now currently stands at $4,856.10.
Now, through you, Madam Chair, thank you. Would it be possible to get a report back for council for next week? Because I would love to be able to move it, and so I think at least we can follow our rules by usually referring it to staff for report. But I just think that they do so much in the community, and this is a signature event, and I thank staff's idea of doing it a 5-year term. So I'll move receipt of the delegation, and I'll move referral to staff for next Wednesday if possible. Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe we have a question from Councillor Willens. Councillor Willens, do you still want to ask a question?
Yeah, I think, Councillor, Laura answered. I believe that what David is asking for as well is that a commitment that he does have Thursday nights, and I think they mentioned that it was for a 5-year term. Is that correct?
That's correct, Councillor.
Okay, perfect. That's good, as long as we can secure David for Thursday night, because it was a very entertaining night, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whelan. So we have a referral motion to council, back a referral to staff to come back with a report to, oh, am I missing someone? Who am I missing here? Councillor Paleshi, I apologize, Councillor. Go ahead.
No problem. I was confused with that last comment. So you're here asking us to be the entertainment at Gage Park for every Thursday for the next 5 years. Like, you're asking for us to secure that.
All we're asking to do is waive the fees
And waive
for
the
the
fees.
bandstand that was constructed for the band. That's all. You know, for many years we just called the booking clerk. We booked the time in the park. That was our responsibility. But because of the history of it, we were never charged for it. But over the last few years, there's had to be creative ways to come up with ways to pay for the park. And there's no cost associated with it. We go there, we set everything up, we organize the whole series, we get the sponsorship money for the series for the musicians that we bring in other than the band. All we're asking is you don't charge us for the bandstand that was built for us. And the longer the term of commitment you can put on that, the better. Because when you really think about it, it's kind of silly that you're charging us to use the bandstand that was built for the band. So anything that can be done so we don't have to go through hoops every year to make sure that we have the time and and the use of this bandstand without paying for it would be great, yes.
We're talking about, roughly around $5,000 for 5 years, roughly $1,000 a year. And you have sponsors now, and I'm sure it costs you a lot more to put that on. You have sponsors that cover payment for the band.
And the musicians,
To bring the musicians
To bring
in.
extra musicians in, because we can't do all the concerts. We do as many as we can, because we feel that's our civic obligation, but we bring in other groups to fill in, so we can have a concert every single week.
And what about the BIA? Does the BIA support you at all?
I just found out this morning that they're going to support us with for advertising, so they're going to be the media sponsor.
The BIA is going to be the media, so they're going to pay for...
They're just going to pay for advertising.
For advertising, okay. Just to try and
Yep.
get everything, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Paleshi, and just a request for the chair to ask some questions, please, now that there's no one else. Thank you so much. Just a question to staff. In the referral back to council next week, is it possible to also include, and David, totally support, the concerts on Thursday night, that the issue or concern I have here is that the other organizations who may also ask for it for free as well, and what that existing charge is for other organizations that are interested in using that space. And so, David, while I appreciate that it was built for the concert band 100%, it's still a public amenity, and there's some concerns about now other organizations getting upset about that. So if staff can just report back on that, the other organizations that might be asking for it, certainly the concert band has it on Thursday nights, and also then in the report justification for it to be, the fees for this particular organization to be waived. If staff can report back on that to council next week, that would be great. So we have a referral motion from Councillor Medeiros. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. That carries, and we will see that report next week.
Okay.
Thank you, David, for your delegation. I think that concludes all of our delegations right now, Mr. Clerk, which brings us to the government relations portion, which is 7.1. Chris Ethier is here from the CAO's office with a presentation for Committee on Government Relation Matters. Chris, welcome. Please go ahead.
Through you, Chair Santos, Chris was in the chamber earlier, and I don't see Chris online at the moment, so he may just be coming over from the office.
Is Chris not here? What time is it? It's 11:30. It's not lunchtime yet. Is Chris here? No? What is next on the agenda? We've got community services. Mr. CAO, is there anyone else who wanted to present on behalf of Chris?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to move receipt of the report.
Okay, I have a motion from Councillor Paleshi to receive the government relations report and presentation. Anyone? Oh, Councillor Vicente, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just a question through you, Madam Chair, and to the CAO. In the federal election, we did do a lot of advocacy to ensure that candidates that were running in that election understood Brampton's priorities and our asks for a number of projects. Will we be doing the same now that we have a provincial election underway to engage with candidates who are running to become our MPPs here in the city? Will we be looking to seek their time so that they understand what our priorities will be?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, absolutely. We can start doing that. If we haven't already started, we will start right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. No further questions. Again, a motion moved by Councillor Palleschi to receive the report and the presentation for government relations. Anyone opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. The next item is community services, and there is no business right now listed. However, we still have question period. So do any councillors have any questions? I see none. Public question period. Mr. Clerk, any questions? Thank you very much. And I'll now move this over to Chair Bowman for Legislative Services.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Legislative Services, we have no staff presentations. We do have new business 9.3.1 landscaping from Councillor Willens. Councillor Willens, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this is sort of a Councillor Palleschi and I had a resident regards, they did some soft plantings on the boulevard. I don't even know if it was on the boulevard. I think it was on the what we consider the encroachment area on the front lawns. They obviously had a complaint, but this you see the pictures, it's pretty nice. So I just want to talk to staff. Maybe they can bring a report back on how we can amend the bylaw when it comes to encroachment, because this person, and there's other people in Brampton and a lot of other wards, I've seen a lot down in the downtown area as well, that beautify their front lawns. And we go to the expense of recognizing people that do the front lawn beautification program with the assistance of the Brampton Horticultural Society. Now, I'm not talking hardscaping. I'm not talking like, trees that may protrude out onto the sidewalk area. I'm talking about soft plantings. These are perennials, pollinators, different ornamental grasses. It actually is, it enhances the neighborhood. So I'm just wondering if maybe staff, we can come back with a further discussion. I'm happy to help, happy to meet offline as well on how we can change it, because it's, like I say, I don't want to stop from, if people have got these giant figurines on right at the end of their driveways that could be a hazardous, almost a trip on the sidewalk. Absolutely. I don't want to see those. I'm talking about the soft landscaping, the soft plantings, because it's, it's just making, we are a green city and we are a designated B city. So I'm just wondering how we can encourage residents to beautify without having them face anonymous complaints from neighbors that may not particularly like flowers. So maybe staff can come back, and I'm happy to work with them offline. I think CAO, I think you're still looking after legislative services for now. So maybe we could have a conversation with one of your staff on how we can amend that bylaw going forward. And also, if we could hold off on having anybody that has been asked to remove these plants until we come back with that report. Because I'm talking about the soft plantings, the flowers, ornamental grasses. I'm not talking about landscaping rocks or figures or things like that. I'm talking about the soft plantings. So maybe we can hold off on that. I don't know, Acting CAO, if you can respond to that about holding off on asking them to removal of this softscape, and just hold off on that for now.
Thank you very much, Councillor Willens. We will go to the Commissioner of Legislative Services, Diana Suze.
Through the chair to Councillor Willens. I can tell you that we're happy to bring back a report on this and provide you some options and let you know what we're doing currently. But what I can tell you is that we do have a program whereby, provided that the encroachment satisfies certain conditions that are put together by various of the city departments, we do issue residents minor encroachment letters that allow them to continue on. However, our realty department is looking at ways and means of potentially addressing this through a bylaw. And so I understand that's underway. So we're happy to bring this report back and provide you that information and options.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm aware of that. I used to deal a lot with Gloria Whitaker when she was here in regards to the encroachment. But that was mostly with fences and whatnot. And I know that the residents had a sign-off letter with their insurance, with the insurance policies. But I'm talking about soft landscaping stuff that if someone's to fall on it, the worst they're going to do is crush the flower. But no, I'll wait for the report. But I'm just hoping that we can hold off on any on making the homeowners revert back to just grass, because it's, this is beautifying the city. So I'm happy to wait for the report.
Thank you, Councillor Willens. Councillor Palashi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Councillor Willens, for adding this item. And I have to say that from the email that Councillor Willens and I both received, the intelligence behind this person's email and the knowledge that they have about everything related to environment and what she can plant, and it was very nice to hear. And I think that we should actually involve her on educating us on the abilities or opportunities that we can be providing our residents. No longer is it just grass. There's a lot of things that residents can be doing. So if we can maybe, we'll send you a copy of the email, and then if maybe we can work together and with bylaw to make sure that this person's heard and we're educated on what we can do on a go forward to see how we can help essentially. With all residents across the city of Brampton. And I know that Councillor Willens speaks for the bees, and here's a great opportunity to do that as well. So very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I don't think, Mr. Clerk, there's any motion there. It was just direction to staff. Oh, we do have a motion. Okay. Moved by Councillor Willens that staff be requested to review city bylaws with respect to encroachment and soft landscaping beautification by abutting landowners and report thereon. Is there any opposed? Seeing none, that carries. Thank you very much, Councillor Willens. That brings us to Councillor question period for legislative services. Any questions from Council? Seeing none. Public question period, Mr. Clerk. No questions from the public either. Thank you very much. That concludes legislative services for today, and we will move over to Economic Development and Councillor Medeiros.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowman, and we don't have any items, and we'll go to Councillor question period. I see none. Any members, any questions from members of the public? Okay, and so as I see none, I'll now hand it over to Councillor Singh for corporate services.
Sure, I'll look at my colleagues. We have a couple of items. Would we like to do them now or after lunch? I just see heads nodding, but nobody's saying which way. Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Thank you, Councilor Medeiros. So we'll break till 12:30 for lunch, and then we'll continue on the agenda. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This meeting is now recessed. Councillor Fortini. And we do have present in the chambers Councillor Singh, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Paleshi, Councillor Vasante, Councillor Santos, and Chair Singh, we do have quorum. You can proceed.
Thank you. Beginning with the corporate services section, 11.2.3 was held. A staff report regarding request to begin procurement, recruitment services for executive roles for a 3-year period. I believe this was held by Councillor Bowman or Councillor Medeiros. Councillor Medeiros, the floor is yours.
Thank you, through you, Chair Singh. When we're doing our procurement, and as we begin for recruiting a firm and put out the call, when we did the previous one for the CAO, there was information that was not included in the applications on applicants' sort of information, background, context, things that came out after regarding one individual or another. And I guess my concern is, so the company, for example, that we use then, how are we performance managing them? And are they allowed to bid on this, knowing that, you know, I had some serious concerns of information which was omitted, and we didn't have that context when we interviewed some of the candidates. How do we do that, and how do we sort of performance manage some of these companies? And when we do our procurement, do we have any language there that they have to, you know, be forthcoming in terms of and transparent of any previous relationships with candidates, that they're going to give us the fulsome of information, that they do background checks on this? Because I assume when I'm getting the file, one thing is someone's resume, but also, you know, any context, any media reports about individuals that we're not aware of. So is that sort of the full breadth? Usually when they recruit candidates, wouldn't they sort of go through that exercise? Is that sort of an expectation?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Has it happened in the past under the previous CAO? I can't tell you whether due diligence was done or not. I wasn't part of those conversations. But certainly, moving forward, Evie and I have had significant conversations with the consultants and have put our concerns on the table for recruiting in the process we use and the thoroughness we use, we go through to vet candidates. So I can tell you at a high level, that's our approach now. We recognize what may have happened in the past, but I'll turn it over to Evie to walk you through the process and contractual nuances.
Okay.
Sure. Through the chair to Councillor Medeiros. So when we do go to RFP, I think the next steps will be when we, write out the RFP, we can highlight those concerns and any of the concerns that you've highlighted now to make sure when we do get the review of the candidates, that is full scope of the information that we're looking for, that the background checks are completed, any sort of relationships are disclosed, for anything that we were looking for, like diverse candidates being brought to the table, any concerns that are publicly known should be highlighted when a candidate from a CEO level or commissioner or director level is being brought forward through the recruitment, through exec search.
Yeah, and through you, Mr. Chair, and it's exactly that, especially when it comes to sort of the prerequisites.
Yeah.
You would hope that the candidates that we're getting, A, meet the prerequisites, and if they don't, then that be highlighted to council, because I understand there might be folks with transferable skills that, they show some leadership qualities and they should be considered as part of an interview. That's one thing, but at least be transparent with council so that we know exactly what we're sort of supporting or getting into, et cetera.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I quite agree with you, and Evie will tell you, not only do we've gone through a few recruits in the last little while, and we'll continue going through, not only do we rely on the recruiter to do that, now Evie and I make sure we reinforce that with the recruiter, and we go over some of the documentation just to make sure it's in line with what our expectations are in the recruit.
And my last question through you, Mr. Chair, I know sometimes there's been a challenge, and especially there's a shortage of that middle management across municipalities. So it's not really just a City of Brampton issue, and I know, you know, they're from an executive perspective, executive position to fill those positions. You know, we sometimes think that there's a huge pool out there and anyone would apply, but it is becoming limited. These companies that are coming in, do we evaluate sort of their performance, their sort of reach, their sort of network? Because you hope that you can get a company that comes in that does have access to really quality candidates out there that they can go tap on the shoulder and sort of talk about opportunities and try to sort of entice them to participating, especially if they meet sort of the requisites that there would be interest in coming to the City of Brampton. So is that also a consideration in terms of their network and their performance and et cetera?
Okay, I can speak to that through the chair to Councilor Santos. Yeah, so when we build the RFP, that's part of the valuation. You know, looking at their experience in the field, looking at their outreach, you know, sort of the pool that they have and what kind of roles that they have filled. And they also work with the municipalities because municipalities are unique in comparison to other organizations. So
Yeah,
that's part of the valuations.
Yeah, no, that's good to know, and thank you, Mr. Chair. And it's we want to try to get the best of the best, and I do know that's competitive out there, and I know, so you do want to sort of have an executive firm that's going to bring those candidates, and then after we're going to get, just from a council perspective, as just one of the members, that it's fully transparent in terms of the information that's being shared with us, and that's it. So I thank you, and it's good to know that we'll be monitoring that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to make one more comment that Evie and I both sit down and now we evaluate at the management level and above, we evaluate where we're going to go with the recruit, whether we're going to go to a strategic recruiter force or whether we're going to take it in-house. And we have now started taking some back in-house so we can put more focus towards that middle management section of a recruit and get somebody who has the applied skills.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have Councillor Fortini and then Councillor Bowman, but did anybody online, I just logged in a little bit late, so did anybody else online? No? Okay, perfect. Councillor Fortini and then Councillor Bowman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question has been answered through Councillor Medeiros. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Fortini. Councillor Bowman.
Yes, thank you very much through you, Chair. I think we're looking to have a decision point on this, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Whether A or B. I think my initial reaction, and you know, we've got HR, we've got skilled people in HR, and I think the skilled people in HR should be able to hire directors, in my opinion. So I would move option B if we're looking for a decision point at this time, and then that means only the CAO and commissioners would be hired or recruited by the outside firms, and I believe it saves $200,000 or something. It's not on the screen here, so.
So, sorry, if I can, through the chair, if I can walk through the options. So, option B that you're referring to, Councillor Bowman, is exactly that. So if you were to go external search firm for commissioner and CAO roles only, the internal recruitment would be for the director, senior managers, and the specialized roles. However, we are asking for a full-time equivalent advisor to be provided to assist with the workload that would be coming amongst. And the procurement value would drop to almost half of what we're asking for the thing. However, the cost savings in this instance that's highlighted in the report would be around $45,000 over the 3 years compared to leaving it with the exec search firm. The reason we recommended option A is, as CEO highlighted, is need to use basis only. Like, if we need to use the exec search firm, we can utilize them. If the commissioners or the CAO want to proceed with the recruit in-house, we can also do that as well. That's what we sort of have done in the interim, as CEO Palmerson have highlighted, that our approach has been sort of a mixture of both doing in-house and through the exec search firm. The option A is a recommendation because it kind of is a safety mesh, you know, from a capacity standpoint, and also highlighting the outreach that the exec search bring to the table. You know, we can't cold call execs off the bat, where they have done due diligence over the years. They've made these connections and they have this outreach. And, as Councilor Medeiros highlighted, the pool is getting smaller and smaller. It's getting very niche, and to have that market experience, especially from a municipality standpoint, that's a hard outreach. I've at least seen from what we've gone through for now. That's what we had sort of recommended. We'll take in-house the senior managers, the managers in the specialized role, the director, the commissioner, the CRO to be sit with the exec search firm. And again, it's only used when the need arises. And again, it's still an optional need if we were to proceed and go through the exec search.
Just before you respond, I think CEO Morrison would like to add something.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Just one other point I want to bring in. One of the angst for us is the fact that it takes us a considerable amount of time to do a recruit, whether it's internal or external. It's including deciding what the criteria is in the spot. It's the posting of the position. It's the waiting that period. Quite often it's 2 weeks to 4 weeks. It's then getting all the applicants in, doing an evaluation of sometimes hundreds of applicants, sometimes less for positions, and then going through the recruit. So it's maybe simple to say, let's just recruit somebody to get them in. But that process can take 2 or 3 months over a course of time. And sometimes having an exec search company to fill a critical role for us quickly would be something that would be advantageous to us. We just wouldn't want to lose that. And I don't want to give you examples now, but we do have some directors' positions where we are looking at exec search companies because it's such a specific critical position and we want to fill quickly. The CIO would be a great example. We have presently a need for CIO and a quick need for somebody who is very talented. We just can't assume that responsibility in HR. So just keep that in mind. I just wanted to put that on the table. And plus the other mitigating factors are we do have a lot of recruits going on for manager on down to frontline employees.
And that was the exact reason I wanted to move B. How many people are we short in HR right now?
Oh, sorry. Through you, Chair, I would say so. We're currently at 54 employees. About a couple of years ago, we were at 63?
72.
72, which means we're down about 18.
So through you, Mr. Chair, that's employees within the HR division, if that's your question.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know how fellow councillors feel, I think over the past few years, my impression is that we seem to be losing more people faster than we're replacing people. And I think in a corporation such as this, it's essential that we have a very, very robust HR department, a very robust system, so that it doesn't take 6, 8, 12 weeks to hire people. And my fear is that if we were to go with A and just use the special recruitment whenever we needed to, that may become the go-to option rather than to get positions filled and get qualified people in here who are going to do those jobs for us.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and we're quite aware of that. And what we've done to mitigate that in the interim is every recruit that goes through, Evie will come down and we'll sit down and discuss, and in between the two of us, we will decide, and that's pretty much all the management positions on up. I have last say on whether we're going inside or outside for our recruit, so we can start validating, or not validating, certainly looking at the criteria of the rationale behind going inside, outside, and spending money versus being able to do that ourselves. But we do sit down and look, moving forward, when I came into place as the interim, moving forward, we had those conversations right from day one. So we made sure we validated, we didn't spend money unwisely.
Okay, because the other thing was we had the report just a few weeks back that indicated that almost exclusively for the last 2 years, we've used one recruiting firm. And that seemed to me a little strange that we used one firm when we had 3 on file to use. But there was an awful lot of times we used them. And I just think that a corporation like this, we've got huge, huge amounts of talent within the organization already. And I don't know if it's that imperative that we have a recruiting firm that goes for anybody below a director. I mean, that's what our jobs and your jobs as commissioners should be, to ensure that we have a succession plan underneath us. So that's why I prefer B, and council can decide otherwise. That's up to council, but that's just my feeling on what I think should be incorporated here.
So through you, Mr. Chair, 2 points that I want to bring back is, one, we did recognize we exclusively, almost exclusively used one firm in the last little while. One of the first things we did, we sat down, Evie and I, and we looked at how we could balance this more and where our strengths are. Some recruit firms are better in this type of employee, some are better in trying to attract that type of employee for different positions. So we certainly have been focused on that, and I think in the last month and a half, we've varied our recruiting firms. We have the other two partners, we've approached them. The other two authorized recruiters, we've approached them, and we've gone to them for work as well. So we've done that. The other piece of this is going back to HR. Over the course of time, to meet organizational and operational needs, HR has downsized only because, and a lot, in fact, we have put employees in other places in the organization, including the CAO's office, to fill other roles. So that is one of the challenges we have from an organization is we take on all sorts of other roles, and where do we find the staff? And stay within budget concerns, so that's why HR has diminished its staff for a piece of it anyways. Not all of it, but for a piece we utilize staff in other locations.
Okay, well, I'll leave it on the floor. I'll listen to what other councillors have to say, and we need to make a decision on this, so I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you. I have Councillor Medeiros, then followed by Councillor Willens.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. Yeah, I do understand the comments, AO, regarding capacity, and I do understand what Councillor Bowman. So it's a pretty hard one because I see benefits from both. The one thing I would say too, my understanding, I don't want to get in this conversation because it distracts us from this, but our HR department in comparison to other municipalities was already quite large. And from my understanding, Mississauga or Peel is considerably, so I'm not sure, but in terms of what's been reduced or not, I won't comment on that. But I will say in terms of, I do see the value of getting a recruitment firm that has ability to tap on people that we necessarily might not be able to, because understanding, and you guys would know better than me, I guess the system right now, it works. It's not that you just put out a job ad and you send it to, certain association magazines, so forth. If it's IT, you send it to IT things and people look and apply. That might happen, but the traditional way necessarily is not what's being used, and a lot of it is that targeted sort of approach that municipalities are using. Is that, because it's not like what, us growing up where you put a job ad and, tons of people apply. That doesn't happen, especially at the executive level.
So through you, Mr. Chair, and Evie, you can back me up on this and comment further in a minute, is what we're finding for some very specific jobs, recruiters already have an index of names. So they have people they can go out to and approach and say, this is an opportunity in Brampton. We'd think that you would fit that opportunity. And those names might not see our opportunities, our employment opportunities. Lots of people do not look at the different job sites, and so they're not aware of jobs within our city. I've run into people myself. I said, did you see the posting? No, I don't look at postings, but thanks for telling me. Recruiters have those indexes sometimes for employees that they can point in our direction that would not be aware of recruits. There's some value there depending on the position.
So now, just finally through the chair then, I guess the dilemma is around, on one end is the capacity and after the oversight. So if I'm hearing correctly, and please confirm, that the option A gives you the flexibility to use a firm when needed, but on some of the other director positions where we think there's a lot of talent pool, we necessarily won't have to use executive agency. Does that provide that flexibility?
Correct. Through you, Mr. Chair, I like to refer to this as Councillor Whalens would probably embrace a hybrid vehicle, gas electric. Let's use one when we need it. Let's use the other when we want to be efficient and effective. So that hybrid allows us that being able to move between those two recruitment fields. The backbone of all this is the trust in senior management to decide to employ which one at which time. It really lays upon that.
And then after, through you, Mr. Chair, we would get the reports anyways. There would be, a more fulsome, robust report to say that, we use this firm. So we'll have an opportunity as council to sort of say, why did you use the firm instead of just doing something internal, right? It provides you the flexibility, especially when they're specialized employment, be it IT or engineers or so on, that type of thing. That gives us the flexibility, right?
So through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely. Part of our conversations within Cynthia, myself, Evie, is the clear and transparency process we use and ensuring that we hire the proper person with an unbiasedness.
Yeah.
In our perspective in the hiring. So yeah, and absolutely come back and be transparent on who we hired and how we hired that person.
Now, is there any way, I guess with moving option B, I guess as the mover, is there any option to amend it in any way, or do we want to think about this till next week? Because I see the merits in both, and I do understand what Councillor Bowman is saying, but I do also want to ensure we get the best talent out there, which would be option A, but there's nothing in between. I guess I was trying to satisfy everyone, right? But I don't know if any suggestions maybe.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, if I can offer a suggestion and maybe clarify a couple of points. So with respect to our comparators, so where they are at 1 HR employee to 50 staff, we're actually at 1 to 71. So our numbers really don't quite compare, so we are truly understaffed. Going back to the question at hand, though, with respect to option B, other options, yes, they are. If the organization we were doing real succession planning, that would actually give us some leeway where we know that hiring at the director level may be slightly easier because your pool is then within, which is your senior managers and your managers pool. We have the opportunity to do that. At this time, we're not. It really is at the will of council whether you want us to go with option A or option B, but certainly we can make it work. Medium ground really comes down to making sure that before we use the executive search firms, we're thinking it through to make sure there truly is a need and we're not capable of finding the resources. We do subscribe to search tools or things that enable us to do those searches, but it takes a lot of time, so that's why sometimes a lag, or it takes too long for the recruiting to actually go through. But whichever option council you land on, we'd be more than happy to work with to move it forward.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Cynthia makes some great points, and I just want to elaborate on one point: is the succession planning, the media, the mentoring within their organization. Far too often, the organizations will look outside for the best employee ever to come into a spot. We have great employees in the city of Brampton, great employees, and that's the last person been hired we consider great because we hired them right on up through. So we don't want to handcuff ourselves as well in the sense that we don't want to continually going outside when we have good people that we can promote through the system within the city of Brampton. And we just recently had an example of that where we employ, an internal employee is being promoted, will be promoted through the system because it was merit. They had the merit to get the job. Interesting is, for that is that we tend to shy away from it because we don't want to be criticized for for promoting our own within. So we have to get over that. We have to look at our good people inside, promote the best ones, and go outside. There's a cost. If we know we have good people inside, why are we running a recruit outside for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in some cases when we know eventually this really was the best recruit? They were internal, they're the best recruit. Why did we spend that money? So we're evaluating that as well, and that's critical on the advancement of employees within the organization.
Yeah, and through Mr. Chair, I agree 100%. And then one of my comments a couple years ago was exactly someone who was a civil servant. One of the most sort of demoralizing thing is thinking that you don't have a fair shot on succession and that people would just bring people from outside. And during some of the sort of discussions that we had, that's always been my comment. So it's great that we focus on that. In the meantime, I think it would be good that on certain positions that you do still have access, because the director is still pretty senior. So I don't know, I'll listen to other comments. I guess my last thing, and probably the chair can sort of cut me off right away because I am stretching latitude. On the entry-level positions, I know it has nothing to do with that, but I do find sometimes, especially when it gets to handyman work, the grunt work, that I know people have expressed interest in working at the City of Brampton. They maybe have 7-8 years experience in construction and so on, but they don't meet prerequisites. So I guess on some of the entry-level ones, if there's some flexibility, I'm not, and I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, because this is not the right forum, but I just put it out there. It'd be great to see sometimes on some of the more manual labor positions and so on, because I know I have had a lot of people come to me, construction guys, landscaper guys, they've done their whole work their whole lives, but they can't apply to positions at the city because they don't meet, I guess, the educational aspects. And I think if there was just that flexibility to see if they have the experience and talent and so on. So anyways, that's an aside. My apologies, members of committee, and I'll just wait back to see what others say. Thank you.
Thank you. It is committee, so it's okay. No worries. Okay, going on, I have Councillor Whillans and followed by Councillor Pleshy.
Thank you, through you, Chair. CAA Morrison actually took the words out of my mouth. I was going to talk about the succession planning because we've had a lot of good people over the years have moved on because we weren't doing succession planning. But also just a note, I think you sort of alluded to it, CAO, is that, you have to have the right attitude as well. You can have all the schooling, and I think Councilor Medeiros made that point as well at the entry level. You have to have the right attitude. If you haven't got the attitude, you could be the smartest person in the world, but if you haven't got the right attitude that fits in with the corporation, there's no place, as far as I'm concerned, for the city of Brampton. But I'm glad that you brought up the succession planning because that's very important to the employees themselves.
Thank you, Councillor Whillans. Moving on, Councillor Pleshy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess I'm a little bit confused with the options and the option being put forward by, Councillor Bowman, respecting the tax base and what we've talked about many times before in having that talent acquisition, somebody here internally that can produce the same results at a certain level as consultants could do as well. Like I often through LinkedIn get these jobs postings of sometimes around the world, and one recently in British Columbia for Public Works Commissioner. And if I was as smart as Mike Parks, I might consider taking that position. But so I think and essentially we're saying the same. Option A and option B, we have the ability to do both. With option B, we have the ability to have that internal. We have, that person would be able to get to know the city of Brampton, get to know the talent that we have, the talent that we can achieve getting here. But then also with option A, you can always come back to council to say, as of, under option B, this is kind of outside of that scope. We're looking for a commissioner, we're looking for a CAO, we're looking for something that needs that. You come to council, you ask us for the money. If we approve it, we approve it, it's done. So option B essentially is option A saying you have to come to us though. So I don't understand.
If I may, through the chair to the Councilor Pleshy, it is essentially that, but with option A, you have the buffer space. So when you build out an RFP and you don't highlight that you can recruit for director, we won't be able to go out based on the term of that contract to recruit for directors, unless then we revise that contract and then allow to use that exec search from the director role. Whereas with option B, there's also some tax implications as well, right? Now we're going and requesting for one full-time budgeted position for the advisor, which is locked in money for that role. Mm-hmm. It will create a role back in the city. We'll have an advisor that works with this, and it varies. The recruitment for director, commissioner, or CEO roles, we're going through it now. We might not be going through it for the next 2, 3, 4 years, all depending on who's at the realm. So you may or may not need to use that source. Then you have now one budgeted position that's committed to doing this, but there's not a really sort of work that's there for them to do. then you have to sort of redefine the work they have to do and work on other aspect of, job and duties. That's why I think the reason we recommended option A was we can still do what option B is allowing us to do, but have the buffer space to go out and do and, recruit for director roles if needed.
Yeah, no, and I completely understand that, and it's the need is here within the city of Brampton to have that role as that support for what we've been talking about for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And the other comment that I'll make is going outside for those specialty services, commissioner and CAO. That's what I like to see. Going for a director, I think, is something that we should be looking at first internally, because typically we promote directors from what I've kind of seen over the course of almost 8 years now in the city of Brampton. There is the option to look external, but I always like to see that person come up and be the director level, and then once you're in the commissioner and CAO, that's when I think that specialty service should be applied. I also don't think the CAO should have anything to do with hiring directors. The CAO should hire commissioners, the commissioners should hire directors, directors should hire managers. And that's the way I think the private sector does it. I don't think that, it should be as much as that overarching, you said that you're the one right now typically hiring managers and up, I believe, is what your words were.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what I said was, I look at it and I determine how we recruit that individual. I do not sit on those ones unless they're specifically reporting to my office. I have a director's recruit going on. It reports directly to me. I sit on that one. I let the commissioners hire their directors.
Good, okay.
I don't get involved in that whatsoever. I try to stay out of the recruiting business as much as possible.
Good. No, I appreciate that, Paul, and I like to hear that.
And the other thing is, can I just throw in, and the one caveat that really resonates with me, and it has for the past years, council endorsed hiring local. You may recall when we had this big conversation is look for great talent within the city of Brampton. So, and we always try to focus on that. Evie and I will look at resumes for some of the things we were doing, and one of the first questions is, where does this individual live? Are they a local person? Do we want local person people? And that's what we focus on quite a bit.
Yeah, no, that's good. But I think that, the option B, like Councillor Bowman was saying it, and then with me adding on top of that, it's always just coming back to council. And council probably set the direction anyways, so then at that time, you say, okay, council, well, this is how much we need to go outside. So that's why I support option B. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Bowman?
Thanks very much. And just to follow up on what Councillor Palashi said, and the discussion, I don't think personally we can do A if we don't have the internal recruitment director in place anyways. If we're going to talk about sometimes going out for a director recruit, those times we don't, we would still need that the internal body to do that director's recruit for us. So that's why I said number B, because even if we have that option, if we choose not to use that option, we still need that person employed to help us out with that. So again, I'll leave that, and if somebody wants to propose something else, I'm open to that as well. Yeah.
Through the chair to Councillor Bowman, just on the closing remarks, I think option A or B would work. So I would make or revise maybe just a bit. So if we do need to, for any reason, go to the director level for exec search firm, we would just add that, like it would include it on a need basis only. Because from what I understand, once the contract is written and it says, you're only going for this to the exec search, that's what we're allowed to do. If we're now, for whatever reason, for CIO role, that we need to use them because we're not getting that type of candidate applying for those roles, then there's a possibility that we may need to use it. It's just a sort of a buffer space. Again, I'm okay with, we're okay with option A or B, but it's just having that buffer space. If we need to use bases, that we have that buffer space for it.
Yeah, and again, council provides that buffer space. If you need it, you just come to us.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's like Diana and I have been talking, and just Diana has a concept here.
Through the chair to the councillors. I think Councillor Medeiros mentioned, is there a way to combine these two options? And both Councillor Bowman and Councillor Pileshi sort of indicated that they view these as, part and parcel of one another. One way to sort of put these two options together, I think, is to give go with option B to provide that additional resource, but to expand it to include positions at the director and below level, but only if an internal recruitment has failed to identify a successful candidate. Because oftentimes what happens is we do go out. On occasions, for example, in legal services where we've gone out with an external, we've attempted, sometimes twice, to go and find a candidate on our own, and we're either not getting candidates or we're not getting candidates that are qualified. And so in those circumstances, we might say, can we go external out of sort of the sheer need to do so? So that's a potential option you might consider in terms of amalgamating these two approaches.
Councillor Bowman, I think the floor was yours. You had the floor?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that amendment?
I'm fine with that, but
Suggestion, I guess.
again, it's only on an as required basis. I think we've got plenty of talent here, and I think we've got the talent in HR if we hire this specialty person that would allow us to do that. So, yeah, I'm fine.
Will this address your RFP concern as well?
Yes, it would. So if we go with
Okay.
option B and we'll just revise to say on need basis what Diana has just shared, that should address it.
You want subject to council approval? Subject to council approval. Is that a friendly? Yes, Councillor Bowman says friendly. Okay, we have the motion on the floor. I'm just double checking. Any more speakers? No, it's moved by Councillor Bowman. Is anybody opposed? Hearing and seeing none, the motion carries. Moving on, we have a staff report, 11.2.4, staff report regarding Brampton U update report on timeline and activities. I believe this was held by Councillor Medeiros.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it wasn't held because there was anticipated delegations.
Okay, it was held because of the delegations. Does anybody have any questions? We do also have an in-camera report. Or we can, we can move it and bring it out if anything after, or do you want? Okay.
Sure, sorry. It's Councillor Fortini. Yeah, maybe we can go on camera and then we can bring it out in the open.
This one is open. If you want to bring out the in-camera after, we can also do that, but the open, yep.
So I probably move we go in camera first before we go into discussion, because that, some of the questions or some of the information might be pertinent to what we get in camera.
Okay, so, yeah.
Is that okay? I don't know.
I guess we're
Through you,
rearranging the
Mr. Chair,
agenda.
if that's the will of committee, the item can be stood down until after closed session.
Yeah, let's do that. So should we go agenda order or go to closed and stand, so we can?
Just finish the agenda order and
Yeah.
then we'll go to close it.
So we'll stand the item down, correct? Okay, to the clerk, I see yes. Do I need a motion to stand it down or, okay. So we're moving on. 11.3.1 was withdrawn. We have 11.3.2, which is Councillor Dillon regarding, a discussion item by Councillor Dillon regarding real estate sign bylaw.
I appreciate that, Chair Singh. And Mr. Clerk, do you have the motion that I had sent?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we'll bring it up momentarily.
Yeah. So essentially, we've had a discussion with staff, and so we've got a number of real estate agents contact myself, and I had a meeting with them, and so there's essentially a 30-day window in which you can put your house for sale, put up your sign, and whether it's sold or not, you have to take it down after 30 days. And following a discussion with the staff, they had indicated it was just an arbitrary number that was selected a number of years ago. And just because right now things are slowing down, the houses may be on the market for longer. There's longer closing times, etc. The request is that we extend it to 60 days now. But for example, if you list your house today and it's sold, after 20 days, the house. If you list your house today, you'll have 60 days to have it up. And so I think just because we have a number of real estate agents within Brampton. It's something that the industry has requested even from a number of years back, and so I put the motion on the floor. I spoke to staff. If staff wants to, Rick Kennard or anybody wants to provide comment, or if any other councillors have any questions or comments, please do so. But again, this is it was an arbitrary number selected a while back, and I think it's a good opportunity to give a little bit of a leeway to our real estate agents.
Okay, before I give it to staff, our speaking order will be Councilor Medeiros, Councilor Pleshy, and then Councilor Bertini. Does staff any comments to make before I pass it on to councilors?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify one thing. It's 30 days after the sale of the home.
Okay. Councilor Dillon, do you have any other
Yeah.
questions? Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I have Councilor Medeiros.
That was my exact question, because if it's 30 days after a sale, to keep it 60 days, I think they're just doing advertisement. So as long as, if the question is they need more time to sell the house, I would be open to that. Not if it's 30 days, not if the house is sold and they continue 30 days, just to be accurate.
So through you, Mr. Chair, the sign can be up for as long as the house is for sale. And the agreement between the seller and the real estate agents is in effect. But the 30 days, it takes effect upon the sale date of that home.
So there's no limitations then for a sign to be there as long as the house hasn't been sold?
Well, I'd venture to say no. However, 30 days after the property is advertised as sold.
Oh, 30 days after the property? Yeah. Okay, so before, just to clear, and I think, so as of today, real estate agent puts a for sale sign. He can keep it there as long as he's trying to sell, could be months. Once he sells and it's advertised as sold, he has 30 days. Yeah, he or she.
Through the chair. Sorry.
My apologies, Paul, it's Elizabeth Corzola, and just to reiterate your understanding, it is 30 days following the sale of the home, the advertising of the sale of the home, or the delisting of that property. If it is not sold but taken off the market, that 30 days time frame still applies.
So unless through you, Mr. Chair, to the mover of the motion, I guess over the week, unless there's more information coming forward, I wouldn't see any reason to change it, but I'll see what my colleagues say. It's just I wouldn't want to have a for sale sign there for 60 days because then we get a proliferation of signage in the community. Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, if to the chair, if I may just respond?
Yeah.
Sorry, can staff just clarify, because it's, right now you have 30 days from the, from when you get your sign up. And can you just kind of clarify from the discussion that, I know Rick Kennard and I had a discussion as well. And so it's a 60 days total, isn't it? From even within when it's sold, you have 60 days total to get it down, no?
Through you, Mr. Chair, in response to Councillor Dillon, no, the signage for a real estate sale of a property on the private property can remain on the private property for the period of time which it's offered for sale. So there's no time limit associated with the time frame for posting a sign. The time limit is in effect after the sale of the sign or the delisting of the property if it's removed from offer for sale. So the bylaw allows the signage to be displayed until such time as it's sold, and then within 30 days of the sale of that property, the signage must be removed. It's not inconsistent with other municipalities who, offer anything from a 14-day to a 30-day grace period after the sale of the property.
Right.
But we're certainly happy to report back with any information that might assist council in determining an appropriate time frame. But to clarify, it's permitted to be up for the entire length of time that the property is offered for sale.
So, okay, so there must be some miscommunication then, because I was under the impression that there was a 30 days total that you were able to get it up. So if the house is on sale for, let's just hypothetically say for 3 months, 90 days, and it's sold on day 91, and then from that day forward, they'll have 30 days to allow the sold sign, right?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that's correct.
Okay, so what we'll do is this, and you know what, I'm going to stand this down. And I think there was probably some miscommunication in the conversation that we've had. And I'm going to stand this down, and I will bring it back for the next committee. And I'll just, and Elizabeth, I think what we'll do is have another meeting between yourself, myself, maybe even Rick, because the information that perhaps I misheard or miscommunication, we'll chat about this a little bit more in depth. And but I'll want to just stand this motion down, and then I'll bring it back for further discussion in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, so it's going to be withdrawn, and then
Withdrawn, yes.
you can bring it back, so there's nothing to discuss. We can move on. Apologize to the three other people, Councilor Fortini, Councilor Whillans, and Councilor Pleshy. Moving on. 11.4.1 was correspondence, and that was received already with the delegations. 11.4.2 was also
Has not been received yet.
It's not been received, and I think we'll stand that down till after in camera. So moving on, 11.5, Councilor's question period. Seeing and hearing, Councilor Pleshy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question that I have to staff. With respect to real estate signs and them being on the property, the majority or almost all of the signs that I see are not on private property. They're on our property. Do we go out and do we enforce the fact that those signs are on public property? And also, what about when they have the open houses? I believe it's 24 hours that they're allowed their signs. They're only allowed specific indication of the open house signs, and you're only allowed to have them up for 24 hours. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm going to go to Elizabeth to answer this question, and then I'll answer the enforcement piece, or if JP's on the line, I'll have him answer it.
Okay, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, certainly in response to the bylaw requirements, the real estate signs do need to be on private property. The expectation is that they're not located on the city boulevard, that they are on the property that is offered for sale. That is a requirement. There are size limitations as well. And likewise, the real estate signs do have a time frame. I know from my experience with the bylaw enforcement staff in signs that there are a number of complaints, usually by other real estate agents, about some of the signs that are up too early, left too long, but there is a proximity to that open house that they must be removed and displayed within. So I would defer to JP about the enforcement and the activity that they see, but from my meetings with BREB and participation in other presentations with bylaw enforcement staff, it is primarily the real estate agents who are concerned about the proliferation of open house signage on city streets in compliance with the bylaw, for sure.
Yeah, through the chair, in terms of the enforcement for realty signs, we typically wait for complaints to be received in order for us to investigate, and we often contact the agent that's involved to see if they have the ability to remove it within a certain time. We try to work with the agent as well. When it comes to open house signs, there's specific location they have to be on. If the sign is located on a center median or a roadway or places that are not properly placed, then we will seize those signs if they're not, because they can only be placed during the hours of the open house. So it's not for an extended period of time, but strictly during the hours of the open house. So the signs have to be located 1 foot from the sidewalk, and the type of sign is usually an A-frame sign that is consistent. So there's very specific guidelines for open house signs as well as realty signs for sale signs. Hope that answered your question.
No, it does for sure. Thank you, JP. I appreciate that, and thank you, Elizabeth. My final question is, do real estate agents in the city of Brampton need any special permit to sell real estate here in the city? Or additional licensing or anything like tow trucks?
Through you, Mr. Chair, in terms of business licensing, the answer is no.
And we've talked about it before, and what I find real estate agents here in the city of Brampton, they're typically like any sales agents. They have one thing in mind, and that's to sell the house or to sell a car. And they're like used car salesmen. They don't care what the condition the house is in. They don't care if you know what the rules are. They don't care if you have, this, or this. They don't care about anything. And I know that legal, lawyers get involved to a certain extent when you're selling a house, but that's really on, the taxes and the, if the liens or anything like that. But here in the city of Brampton, we have so many real estate agents, and I can talk about this because I don't have pecuniary interest. Nobody in my family has a real estate license. But here in the city of Brampton, I think it's time that we need to hold these real estate agents accountable for what they're selling. Because it's too many times we get people moving into this house and then phoning their counselors saying, well, hold on, I bought this house. Nobody said anything to me about this illegal basement. Nobody said anything to me about this piping system that I now have to open up a wall to get an inspector to come in or open up concrete. And that goes back on the agents. And I think it's time that we put something forward in the city of Brampton that real estate agents need some kind of education or some kind of extra license to sell here in the city of Brampton. Paul?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the concept is very intriguing. What it does is allows us to parallel the other process where we did for driveway contractors. So right now we do go out, we speak to real estate agents and companies and on a voluntary basis where they request us or we request to speak to them and try to educate as best we can. What you're proposing allows us to do mandatory training and understanding of some very simple rules or etiquette in selling a home within the city of Brampton. It puts that on the table easily for us. The other piece, we have to look at the capacity because my belief is there are very many real estate agents out there in the city of Brampton, so we would have to manage that program. So we would have to have some sort of formalized ability to address that. It would probably supersede what we do for licensing for driveway contractors.
Thank you, Paul. And through you, Mr. Chair, finally, I'm not going to put anything forward here today, but it's something that I think we need to be able to talk about. And it doesn't have to be monetary value. It doesn't have to be a moneymaker here at the city. It's just about, providing that transparency. It's all about the residents that are moving into Brampton and protecting them. So those were my questions, that question period, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pleshy. Okay, I think we have two other speakers online asking questions. Councillor Fertini.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. To Elizabeth, I think there's a little confusion here. I think Councillor Dillon, what he was trying to say is, so if I put a sign up before it's sold, yes, there is no limit on the days. But once it's sold, it's 30 days. But a lot of times, where do we get this paperwork where it says sold? Because I purchase a home and usually give 10 to 20 days on financing. So does it go from the day that it's sold or the day you got financing? Because really, if I get financing and I go on right on my 19th day, I only got 10 days to leave the sign up.
Understood, and through you.
So that's why I think the confusion is.
Understood, Councillor Fertini, through you. Mr. Chair, I'm going to have to defer that question about how the enforcement staff determine what the listed date for sale is, but it is typically once the sale has been finalized. If it's a conditional sale, there's usually a period of time in which residents would have an opportunity to clear those conditions. So once it's listed for sale following the clearance of those conditions, then that is when the property would be listed for sale and the property then removed from the market. There are some transitional, sold on condition statuses that you'll sometimes see on the listings on both MLS and other platforms, and I suspect that that's what the enforcement officers use. But I see JP is on the line and defer to him.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Through the chair, we typically will attend as a result of a complaint, and then we'll start that 30-day upon arrival. So we don't necessarily question the agent. We will start the clock on the day that we attend, and then based on that 30-day, because we've now identified the fact that this sign has been up for 30 days for evidentiary purposes. If charges are to be laid, we have the ability at that point, we have the facts and the evidence to show that the sign has been up for longer than 30 days, as opposed to relying on documents or perhaps in other individuals that will state that the sign has been up or the house has been sold, so on. So we rely a lot on our own observations.
Yeah, and thank you. Yeah, and I understand the conditional. You try to sell yours and you buy on conditional, but a lot of times on financing, someone buys and still have to get conditional finance. Councillor Pelleshi brought up a good point, and I got this past last summer, I got a resident calling me that he purchased a home and had a basement apartment. And this couple bought it for the reason is they could get some income, help pay the mortgage. And we went along and said, well, it's not legal. So I put this couple in a jam that they couldn't afford to have their home no more. So I agree with what he's saying. Like, we have to hold these people accountable, because most of the people use the real estate that they know, their friends, and they want, they can do a little bit more search. A lot of people say, oh, let me call the real estate. There's a sign there. Oh, there's a basement apartment. There's this. They don't understand all the rules, just like our driveways. And that poor couple faced a lot of problems at the time because they lost their $900 income. So that's a good point. So I will support that whenever that comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams.
Thank you, through the chair. I wonder if there's some clarification around who people would go to hold real estate agents in Brampton accountable, because we have BREB and we have TREB, right? Toronto Real Estate Board and Brampton Real Estate Board. But Toronto Real Estate Board members can sell in Brampton. And it's such a large body that it's harder to hold people who are registered through TREB accountable, as opposed to people who are registered through Brampton Real Estate Board. Is that correct? And have you heard that piece around why it's important to have Brampton real estate agents register in Brampton, or I don't know how it's worked out, but is that one of the issues that we are dealing with here in accountability?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I don't disagree with you, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. It is a bigger issue, is the accountability piece. And right now, correctly so, we don't have accountability over our own real estate market in the city of Brampton. And the other point that you make is quite valid, is the fact that we have outside the city realtors coming in here and selling, and how to control that. But my mind goes back to, we have a very flexible and easy to navigate process for driveway licensing. So if you want to sell here, it means that you can quickly go on and do that. It's a self-administered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week kind of test. So we could look further into this, absolutely.
If I may just add through you, Mr. Chair, there is also an overarching Ontario Real Estate Council, RECO, R-E-C-O, who does and is contacted occasionally when there are concerns with listing agents and how the properties are advertised. I know that our property standards staff have reached out to report some anomalies where advertised properties are being offered for sale for purposes that are not permitted. So if in the event they don't know who, whether it's the Toronto or Brampton Real Estate Boards, there is also the ability to complain or file a complaint with RICO, with the overarching provincial board.
Okay, and I think that clarification would be helpful because if we do have people who are, misrepresenting the city, and it's hard to hold them accountable, it's knowing where do we go and who do we address our issues with, and even having Toronto Real Estate Board realize the impacts of having outside or Toronto Real Estate Board registered real estate agents selling in Brampton. What those impacts are. So I'm just wondering if it's helpful to get some clarification on that and then even have some explanation from the Toronto Real Estate Board. Because I know BREB is pretty willing to work with us here at the City of Brampton, but it is one of their concerns that if it's the Toronto Real Estate agent that's registered through their database is much larger and it's harder for them to hold the real estate agent accountable. So some clarification around that and how we can navigate, and if it is just RICO that we go to, what are their recommendations for us? Because Councillor Pleshy makes an excellent point, and it is something that we need to address. We will have signs that say second unit, and apparently it's not even allowed. You're not even allowed to have those advertisements on real estate signs saying second unit on it, or investment property on the real estate sign. And so I've had residents complain about that. The sign says investment property on the top of it, and this is our neighborhood. We don't want to see it turning into or being seen as an investment community rather than a community in a neighborhood. So I think some of the clarification around that would be helpful. Thanks.
So just for clarification, there's no motion, it's been withdrawn, this is just councillor question period, and councillors can add it back if they want next week or the week after. Councillor Pleshy says he's gonna add it. And Samir, did you have anything to add?
Through the chair, I just wanted to comment briefly on the question that's asked, and I have to preface this by saying this is not legal advice, but I just wanted to echo the comments that Elizabeth made, that the regulatory body is the Real Estate Council of Ontario. There are real estate boards, such as the Brampton Real Estate Board and the Toronto Real Estate Board. Those, as I understand, are more professional organizations to support the real estate agents, but they're not a regulatory body. The regulatory body would be RICO, and that would be the entity which people would look to if they have issues.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. Public question period, 11.6. No members have asked any questions from the public, so I'll give it to Chair Vicente to chair the Public Works and Engineering section. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Singh. Members of the committee will now guide you through the Public Works Engineering section, in which all items were in consent. So we'll move on forward to Councillor question period. Are there any questions from members of council? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, are there any questions from members of the public? Also seeing none. So we'll move to the referred matters list. And does any member of committee have any question with respect to the referred matters list? I see none. So then move on to public question period. Mr. Clerk, there are no questions. So we'll move on to closed session. I'll ask the clerk to summarize the items that we are about to discuss within closed session.
So through you, Mr. Chair, to members of the committee, there are 3 items for consideration in closed session. The first is 15.1, an open meeting exception under Section 239, 2C and K of the Municipal Act, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and a position plan procedure criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. 15.2, an open session meeting exception under Section 239, 2K and B of the Municipal Act, a position plan procedure criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, and personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Item 15.3 was approved as part of the consent motion. There will be a public motion arising from that will be considered after closed session when committee returns to public session. And finally, the added item 15.4, it was tentatively added subject to confirmation from the city solicitor that this item did meet the meeting exceptions for the Municipal Act, and the city solicitor has advised that it has. So this item is going to be identified as 15.4, open meeting exception under Section 239, 2C and K of the Municipal Act, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board and the position plan procedure criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board as it relates to the Toronto Metropolitan University Medical School. And those are the three items for closed session, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. How much time do you need?
Through you, Mr. Chair, 15 minutes would be appreciated.
So members of committee, we will resume at 1:50. I have a motion moved by Councillor Pelletier to go into closed session. All in favor, any opposed? That carries.
Members of committee, just before we get started, I'm just going to confirm the members that I do see present in participating remotely. I see Councillor Williams, and that is the only member present at the moment. Committee agreed to reconvene at 4 o'clock, and we do have quorum present. We have Councillor Williams present remotely. We have Chair Vicente, Councillor Pelletier, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Santos, Councillor Medeiros, and Councillor Singh. Mr. Chair, you can proceed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, we'll ask you to report out from our discussions in camera.
So thank you through you, Mr. Chair, and members of committee. There were 3 items considered in closed session. 15.1, open session meeting exception under section 239(2)C and K of the Municipal Act, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board and position plan procedure criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. Information was received in regard to this item and considered by committee, and direction was given to staff on that item. Item 15.2, that item is an open meeting exception under section 239(2)K and B of the Municipal Act, position plan procedure, criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Information was considered in closed session. The item was considered in closed session. Information was received, and this matter was referred to City Council on May 18th. Item 15.4 was an open meeting exception under Section 239, 2C and K of the Municipal Act, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and a position plan procedure criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. This information was received and considered by committee, and no direction was given to staff. And finally, item 15.3, which was approved as part of the consent motion, an open meeting exception again under Section 239, 2C and K of the Municipal Act. As part of the consent motion approval, direction was given, including direction that a motion be considered in open session. So we will bring that motion on the screen for committee's consideration. And this is in regard to item 15.3. And we will require a mover, Mr. Chair.
I have a mover in Councillor Paleshi. Any questions? All in favor, any opposed? That carries. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That is the report out from closed session.
Thank you very much. I believe, Mr. Clerk, we have a few items left over from previous. So we have item 11.2.4, staff reports, Brampton New update report on timelines and activities. Councillor Medeiros.
Happy to defer tonight's council. To council Wednesday.
Okay.
Refer.
Okay, we have a motion of referral to council. Any questions? All in favor, any opposed? That carries. Mr. Clerk, do we also have correspondence to refer?
That's correct, 11.4.2.
So I have a motion of referral to council by Councillor Medeiros. All in favor, any opposed? That carries.
So, Mr. Chair, I believe that completes the business on today's agenda.
Very good. So, members of council, thank you very much for your attention to today's committee. We will now adjourn the meeting. Motion moved by Councillor Santos. All in favor, any opposed to adjourn? That carries. Our next meeting will be May 25th, 2022. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr.